The Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030.
Goodness.
After the Home Office claimed
They're giving away.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Like I said, a very good morning. Just gone 6 o'clock. You are with Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the place where your views on the day's news matter. They matter to us, Alarm Clock Britain. Hope you well. I was outside earlier, bumped into Steve, the black cabbie, just the same as me, bemoaning the state of this country. I said to him, is there a road in London you can find to drive your cab, given that Sadiq Khan has... He said, not really, mate, but he loves Talk, and thank you for making that switch. Tell all your cabbie mates it's where the truth is. Thank you very much indeed. Before I tell you what's in the news, as ever, if you want to be on, Tommy is back. Honestly, brilliant to have him back. I feel like it's just like having a safety blanket. I love him. He'll take your calls, 0344 499 1000. You can make a call and leave a voice note. It seems that over the last 4 days of our new Prime Minister's tenure, I like that word, Burnham has made an announcement at 6:15, so I thought it would be fun. I didn't, Christian did. We'll get a voice note or a call. What would you change? What would your policy announcement at 6:15 be? 87222 on the text. Big Mark is pushing the buttons. Christian has already had his breakfast, I noticed. He's knocked back. I think he does it privately, so the wife thinks he eats couscous. Do you enjoy the McDonald's? Oh, you're in trouble now. And the Queen is here. Yes, indeed, Nehal, the woman that controls it all, is in the building. 0344 499 1000. What are you waking up to? Well, so unedifying yesterday, this story about the government's early release programme. You remember that Starmer brought this in with Lammy and that dreadful hermit. Oh, we haven't got any space in our prisons, so I'll tell you what we'll do. We won't build any more prisons. What we'll do is we'll let people out. This came into sharp focus yesterday because two of the thugs who were responsible for the death of PC Andrew Harper in 2019 were due to get out early, 6 years into a 13-year sentence. His widow, who's been incredible and has got Harper's Law in place, which is, you know, in future, something like that, it has to be a life sentence. She's criticised massively the proposals overnight, saying her husband's killers, if released early, the plans are deplorable. It's on the front of every newspaper. It is deplorable that freeing prisoners early is acceptable. One brave lady, I mean, they were literally off on their honeymoon and this guy was killed. Andy Burnham, as a result of this, jails across England and Wales, it's complete and utter chaos because they'd all been gearing up to let people out under Starmer. Burnham, day 4. I can't say that I can change the policy completely, but I will look at it before we go forward. Right, good, excellent. That's the day 4 debacle. Yesterday we had the hot mic. More of that's been rumbling on. West Streeting apologised. Shabana Mahmood, you heard them overnight. You saw it yesterday saying, oh, let them all out, let them all out. That's gone down like a bag of whatever. Kerry Badenoch waded in and said about Burnham, which was brilliant. Is that it? There is one bit of good news. I should give him credit for this. You know the old £2 bus thing I told you yesterday, 454 million quid? Apparently it's going to be paid, reported it could be paid with raids on climate project funds. Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, lower petrol, raid the climate funds on that. Lower petrol, lower tax, raid the climate funds. Now you've got that eco-zealot in the Foreign Office, ban net zero. We'll also talk about Gary Lineker. God. He and 120 other well-meaning British millionaires tell the new Prime Minister they actually want to pay more tax. What they don't tell you is that thousands of millionaires have been forced to leave this country and the tax that they would give to the Exchequer has been lost. That is just... oh, odious. And my favourite bit of the day, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching on YouTube, Lucy Powell. The new Education Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister has been mocked by the Tories for her own spelling, grammar in a social media post celebrating her new role. She wrote, absolutely thrilled the be a point Education Secretary. The grammar's rubbish, the spelling's crap. She got from the Tories 3 out of 10. See me after class. That's the new Education Secretary, ladies and gentlemen. Also, he's on the show later, but Reform's Robert Jenrick has deleted a doctored voice recording of the Immigration Minister, Joe White, where he quoted her as saying, "I don't care if we stop the boats." He's had to delete that because that was wrong. She said more than that. That's a bit like the BBC cutting Trump in half. You have to be very careful with this social media stuff. What you don't have to be careful with is the quality of the paper reviewer. A man who treads the boards across the country and has a one-man show that has galvanised audience. He's up for an Emmy. He's not really. Peter Bleksley, good morning. You have got some stamina. Us oldies are all right, mate. You were on stage last night. Where?
Yes, I was. Culture stuff. Sold out. Wonderful audience.
It wasn't sold out at all.
It was.
You sound like Liz Truss at CPAC.
It most certainly was.
4 people turned up. What are you talking about?
Let me tell you. And it was wonderful. Fantastic audience.
How many
Loved
people?
the show.
How many people?
500.
And nerves anymore, or just fine with it now?
Every time you go on stage and people have paid plenty of money to come and see you, there is a huge responsibility that you have got to deliver the best show you possibly can every single night. So there is pressure, there is an element of nerves, but that's a good thing because you then go out and do it. And as another Peter contacted me after the show.
Peter? Another Peter. There's more than one, is there?
He contacted me and he said, your storytelling was brilliant. So what a lovely thing for somebody
Just
to say.
1 out of 500 said it was brilliant.
No,
what are the other 400? No. I'm still to come. We're looking forward to it. Pete, the ideal guest today. Let's just go back to yesterday. PC Andrew Harper, 2019, doing his job. A couple of days from his honeymoon with his new wife, goes to investigate a burglary of I believe, like a quad bike. There's an escape. He gets caught in whatever he gets caught in and dragged along a country lane for a mile. These 3, I don't even know how to describe them. He's dead. Devastating. 3 of them. The driver gets 16 years, the other 2 get 13 years. We go back to Starmer's reign, where he thought it would be a good idea under Lammy to deal with overcrowding prisons and a lack of space by letting people out. The wife, the widow, the brave Lizzie, Andrew Harper's widow, yesterday criticising the proposals as utterly deplorable. I think everybody with a brain cell would agree with her wholeheartedly.
Indeed. Can I just rewind, if I may, please, to that fateful evening of 2019? PC Andrew Harper was at the end of his shift. He was back at the police station doing what cops do at the end of their shift because he's getting ready to go home. Take your radio off, take your kit belt off, get out of uniform, get in the car or however it is, you're going to go home. Andrew Harper's shift was over. And as he's getting ready to leave that station, the shout comes in. A crime actually in action at the time. So what does Andrew Harper do? He abandons all plans to go home and he does what any enthusiastic, dedicated, proper public servant of a police officer would do. And he said, I'm going on that shout. And that's exactly what he did. And Andrew, tragically, paid for that with his life. He was the very best of us. Yeah. The very best that policing has to offer. That kind of dedication to public service so often goes unnoticed.
I'm really glad you said that because we spend a lot of time, and it's justifiable, especially with you and Mike Neville. We'll talk about the problems that the Met and police have had. And you've always said to me, the fish rots from the neck upwards, and it's the people at the top, and it's the people who, you know, have gone to this college and are only interested in promotion. But you're Andrew Harper. Is your archetypal, hard-working, dedicated, loyal copper who cost his life, and all of his family's lives have been blighted from that moment. But what I thought was extraordinary is this Lizzie, I think it is Lizzie, isn't it? His wife, Lizzie, his wife. I mean, the devastation, but she used all of her energy to pass Harper's Law. And I thought the most frightening thing for Andy Burnham and for other people in politics yesterday was when she was asked about what she thought about this freeing prisoners early. Because let's remember, right now you probably have to serve 40% of your time. The Labour Party want to bring this down to 33. So if you get 10 years, that's 3. If you get 30 years, that's 10. It's utterly, utterly ludicrous. I'm just being honest, I think you should serve the time. She threw all of her efforts into creating Harper's Law, which basically said it's life for somebody in public service that's murdered, somebody in the army, somebody in the police. She said yesterday something that's really should strike home. She said, when I was bringing in Harper's Law on the wave of what had happened to Andrew, both the Tory party and the Labour Party supported me. And both of them now are turning their backs on the memory of my husband. I think it's disgusting. Disgusting. I have to say the Conservative Party, aren't they, been very critical of this policy, to be fair.
I'm just going to rewind once again to that night when Andrew Harper is getting ready to go home, because you've mentioned his wife, Lissy. They'd only been married for a month. The following day, Andrew and Lissy were due to go on honeymoon. So Andrew had every reason to say, I'm not going on that shout, I'm going to go home because I'm going on my honeymoon tomorrow. But he didn't. He went to that call, to that crime being committed, and paid for it with his young life. And when you say this morning, as you did, it's on the front page of every paper, forgive me for correcting you, it's certainly not on the front of the Daily Mirror, and we'll get onto that a little bit later on.
I don't have it, I don't want it.
But when you look at the other newspapers that have got it, the beautiful pictures of Andrew and Lissy together are absolutely enough to melt your heart. And to think that young man had his life snuffed out in the way that he did is absolutely appalling. But if I may, something that you've just said chimes very much with me about how you think the sentence you get should be the sentence you serve. And I'm in full agreement. I have got a radical plan for completely reinventing the prison system. Now, I don't know if it will ever come to fruition, and please bear with me just a moment while I try and put some flesh on the bones.
It's his age, it takes a while.
Well, I could write a book about this, but
no, we've only got 45 minutes.
Yeah, I'll be as brief as I can.
Thanks, mate.
My plan would be to scrap all jail terms less than 4 years. Now, before you accuse me of being flaky and fluffy and woke and progressive and liberal, let me just explain. If you commit a crime which the judge decides is not worthy of a 4-year jail term, because that would be the minimum term a judge could hand down, 4 years, and it would be 4 years, by the way.
Right.
Parole, early release, all of that would be utterly abolished. So what you get is what you serve.
Anything over 4 years, you get it, you serve it, right?
Everything. Every jail term, what you get is what you serve, because the minimum would be 4 years. Of course, we need to have something to punish people who have committed crimes that do not qualify to hit that 4-year bar.
What's the punishment?
Very strident, very visible or well-publicised society sanctions, society sentences. And by that I mean...
What do you mean by that?
Things that would benefit society. So have a look around your town or your city and look at things that need doing and could be done by people who have committed a crime. In essence, not literally chained, of course, but high-vis. And that is part of the punishment. You will be seen by the public on a daily basis. The public will see people paying their price to society. They are cleaning...
Who's going to control getting them up, getting them out of their houses and getting them to work?
There are many wonderful, disciplined former veterans, military veterans, who...
Sorry, I don't want to upset you because I want to talk about this, but it's 6:15. You know what that means, don't you?
I do.
Andy Burnham. Jesus Christ. Is he doing this deliberately? Before we hear an announcement from Andy, but I'm sorry, Pete, I want to hear more. Listen, Adrian, an alarm clock Brit, he's got a 6:15 announcement followed by the Prime Minister. Morning, Aid.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Adrian from East Sussex. 3 suggestions for big announcements for Andy Burnham. 1, leave the ECHR. 2, start drilling in the North Sea and binning net zero. And 3, downsizing the BBC. There you go. Bye.
No, that's far too sensible. I think Graham is onto one. Graham in Bushy, Pete says, I reckon he's going to announce that all men at work will have to wear a black T-shirt and all employees must at least have 50% of them from Manchester. That's interesting. Morning, Jess. It's Brett from Basingstoke. What would my policy be at 6:15? Probably to sack Wes Streeting for gross misconduct in a public office for the comment he made about releasing prisoners. I think the whole thing's utterly disgusting. But are we ready for the Andy Burnham announcement? Breaking news. Push the button. What is it? What is the breaking news? Oh. Oh, this is quite good, isn't it? Oh, right, OK, well, we'll do it again. Sorry, I didn't even see that. Oh, right. He's just announced at 6:15, Pete, he's going to cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April. That's good, isn't it?
That's very good.
That's very good.
That's very good. It will, of course, create a hole in the money that is paid to councils that impose these business rates.
But Prime Minister Andy Burnham, we'll call it out as is, has just announced he will cut business rates, which has been an absolute noose round the neck, along with NI. Now, is those business rates, is that NI? No, it's more than that. By 20%, OK, on pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April. Now, the cynics will go, why not till next April? The other cynics will go, well, actually, I'm going to say, how are we paying for this? Has anybody got an idea? If we raid the climate cupboard, I'm really pleased.
Well, he's clearly been listening to his chum, Sacha Lord, who is the nighttime czar of Manchester. They're very close, Sacha Lord and Andy Burnham. And Sacha Lord comes from a background of clubs and pubs and that kind of stuff.
Sacha Lord, yes.
Yeah,
is he responsible for Crackadilly, Sacha Lord?
Quite possibly, I don't know.
Just going to tell you something off the cuff. On Monday, we've had an undercover person in Manchester, right? Because this model of our Prime Minister, who I think looks like the leader of a student union, sorry, I'm just going to say it. I turned Manchester around. I made Manchester the greatest city on earth. Isabel Oakeshott, I have to thank for this. We won't tell you too much, but we sent somebody to Crackadilly for 2 hours, and it would be fair to say in that 2 hours, which is 120 minutes, he was offered on-camera drugs 4 times. There are rats the size of cats, and there were women and children fighting, and there was not a police officer in bleeding sight, man.
Of course not. Of course not. The police don't patrol the streets, generally speaking.
No, I know, but it's quite an insight. Anyway, let's talk about that. What do you make about it? Prime Minister Andy Burnham has just announced he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April. To me, that sounds great off the top of our heads.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
investigate more.
My wife and I went for a cup of tea in a little sort of fairly new tea shop that's opened up in Bexley Village.
Have you got to that age where you go to a tea shop?
I like a cup of tea and a scone, don't you? Tell me you love a scone with a bit of clotted cream and jam.
What's the world's fastest cake, Bexley?
Oh, yeah.
Scone.
Right.
Here's the thing, if you're talking scones, what's the best... Do you know the right way to do it? Cream or jam?
It's cream and then jam on the top.
Good boy. Who
right?
says you can't take the boy out of south of London?
It's a scone, right? Anyway.
Scone.
And we were talking to
Where's the cake? Scone.
We were talking to the woman, probably in her 30s, who'd started
Where's the criminal?
Business.
He's scone.
Yes, thank you. She started this business up, but she was complaining that every month she's got to take at least 800 quid to pay the business rates and associated costs. And that's a lot of cups of tea before you even begin to nudge towards breaking even and making a profit. So if this is going to affect businesses and reduce their costs, then it has to be a good thing. Let's call it what it is.
We've got to call it for what it is. The 6:15 announcement this morning, Andy Burnham has announced he will cut business rates by 20% for clubs, pubs and live music venues from next April. We want to hear what you think of that. 0344 499 1000. We want your text as well, 87222. Back to this early prisoner release. You just said, it's my plan. Anybody that gets under 4 years wouldn't go to prison. Hear him out.
Yep.
You were saying they would be community service, high-vis, they will be controlled to do that, and anybody who commits a crime of which they get more than 4 years would never be able to get parole. They would have to serve the full term. Why wouldn't they serve the full term from the first year? Why are we doing 4 to nothing? Why don't we just build more prisons?
No, because I think we need to create prison space, clearly.
Well, get rid of foreign criminals then. There's 10,000 of them.
I will get to that in a moment. But also, short jail sentences often do not work. People go in jail for a year, they come out better connected to criminals, and they come out better educated.
Well, why not put them in solitary on bread and water
in the
with
ways
no
of
clothes?
criminality.
That might be a good idea.
That takes an awful lot of supervision, an awful lot of staff, and we've had a massive breakdown in prisons of the kind of the rule of law, the rule of order within our jails. So having these very visible society sentences, not all of them would be visible, because, say, for example, you're a doctor who stupidly gets arrested for drink driving. Well, as a doctor, you're going to be literate and you can count, so you would have to do hundreds of hours, say, in a prison.
In a high-vis jacket?
In a prison, educating people.
In a high-vis jacket?
Quite possibly.
I think they've got to wear a jacket saying, I'm a criminal.
So they would educate people. So no matter what your skills were, we'd find somewhere for it, but and this is a huge thing as well, I want to see a complete reinvention of the fines system. Say, for example, you're a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, you get nicked, and I'll use the drink driving example again, or drug driving, for example, in your Maserati or your McLaren or your very expensive Mercedes, whatever it may be, okay? If you own that, it's taken from you. That's a huge fine. You could be, so in essence, it could be the equivalent of a fine of £500,000 or so, okay? That's your sentence. And you will also have to do one of my society sentences as well.
Isn't it a bit complicated? And I love you dearly.
No, it's not, because you've got nobody in jail doing less than 4 years. So you've got.
But how do you decide what crime?
You've got none of that constant churn.
Are we not? No, I accept that. But are we not? And we must go to a break. But are we not also saying that part of the problems in this, and it's all about, you know, I agree with Lissy Harper. It's deplorable that freeing prisoners early is acceptable. It's an appalling look. If you get to a point now, as it is, whatever crime you commit, you presumably as a scumbag going, do you know what? He's given me 10, I'm only going to do 3. He's given me 3, I'm only going to do 1. That needs to change. Judges need to change. The statute book needs to change. We need to give more support to the prison services. It's not. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong. It's not supposed to be a bloody holiday camp. And as for gangs and of people running drug cartels and controlling prisons, how did that not happen in the old days then?
Exactly.
Didn't happen in Porridge. Mackay was in charge.
It's part of my argument. When you free up prison staff from all that endless churn of people coming in for short-term jail sentences, you imagine everybody that walks through the gates of that prison, the staff know they've got them for an absolute minimum, no parole, no early release of 4 years. You can work on people in 4 years. They can work on themselves in 4 years. And going back to my society sentences, the societal punishments, if you turn up late 2 or 3 times, if you breach it, if you don't comply,
go to prison
for 4 years.
Oh, it's getting better, the idea. We like that.
You go to prison for 4 years. The only minimum jail term is 4 years, and you do 4 years. You imagine Thursday or Friday night, there's a group of builders in the pub. They finish work, and the governor's going to pay them down the pub, for example.
Yeah.
They're all having a drink. The van keys are on the bar, OK? Terry stupidly decides that he's going to have a 3rd pint or a 4th pint before he drives home. He's an absolute idiot. It would very soon enter the national psyche in that people would say, hey, Terry, that 3rd pint, is it worth 4 years?
Great, love it. What do you make of Peter Blexley, the next Justice Minister, if I ever got in? 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. That breaking news at 6:15. It's a Burnham thing every day now. Our new Prime Minister has just announced he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music events from next April. On the surface, that looks great. Cynicism here. Bill, Sir Burnham has announced a business rates cut next April for pubs. I will lay anything he calls a general election in March. 0344 499 1000. We said it. He needs to do a couple of things that resonate. If the bounce happened, Reform by their own admissions are having a sticky time, right, but still massively supported. Very interesting. But nothing on this programme, not even you, Peter Blexley, can stand in the way of Angry Rob. Morning, pal.
Morning, Jazz. Morning, Mr. Blexley, you legend. Rob on his way to work, and I ain't too happy. You're talking about that poor young policeman. Life snuffed out for doing his job. You may not always like a policeman. You may not always agree with the policeman. But at some point in your life, you're going to need one. Now, his wife, grieving widow. Supposed to go on a honeymoon? No honeymoon. They're never going to have a future together. No children. No grandchildren for their parents. A generation snuffed out by 2 low-life, maggot-filled, puss-carrying bags of crap. These people don't deserve to breathe another breath. Like serial rapists, child molesters and rapists, and all that sort of people. Sorry, mate. Don't get into all this liberal, oh, we'll just be as bad as them if we have the capital sentence. No. Do what you like. I don't care. They should be gone. Because I can guarantee you now, you will see their faces in the paper again for another crime. We get it where I live. People who constantly offend. And every time it's just that little bit more, little bit more. Well, I tell you how you nip it in the bud. You send out a signal. You do this kind of crap, and guess what? You're going to be playing a harp, mate. You're gone. Get him out. Put him in front of a wall and call up the firing squad. It's about time we made an example of these low-life degenerates that have no regard for human life or public in any way, shape or form. I've had enough of them. We've got way too many people in this country committing atrocities and never have to face a day of bloody justice.
A 78-year-old Anne Widdecombe was bashed on the head repeatedly with a hammer until she died. Palestine Action is advertising direct action training using hammers.
And I'm sorry, but this is what happens when you import not just sort of, frankly, foreign or very un-British sort of cultural issues like Palestine, but when you actually tolerate the behaviour as well. Everybody knows that struggle is typified by brutal violence. We don't want that here.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, almost 6:30. It is Thursday, July the 23rd. We're live across the UK with Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense and the place where your views on the day's news are always welcome. Phone up 0344 499 1000. You can leave a voice note. You can text us 87222. Peter Blexley is here. He's talked about a plan because, of course, everybody, quite rightly, every newspaper talking PC Andrew Harper, who lost his life, an amazingly brave copper. You heard from Pete there that he was supposed to be with his shift had finished, but he went back out. It cost him his life. Two of the tow rags that were in the car that dragged him along a country lane for a mile and caused his death are due to be released after serving 6 of a 13-year, that's pretty small as well, isn't it, sentence as part of, the last government's early release scheme. This is, let's let prisoners out, because if we do that, we'll free up jail space. I mean, you could, of course, get rid of foreign prisoners. There's 10,000 of them. You could, of course, stop net zero and build some bloody prisons. That's what I do. Pete's got other ideas. He thinks that... here's a question for you, actually. George, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Peter. George from Leicester. So, Peter, you know how to do the scone the right way around with the cream, but what is it, raspberry or strawberry? That's the bigger question. Cheers, guys.
I thought we were talking about crime. This is about scones. Raspberry or strawberry with you?
There's only one answer. It's strawberry, of course.
But it actually isn't, is it?
I don't know.
Damson. What about damson jam?
I've never eaten whatever you're talking about in my life.
I don't want to upset anybody at 6:30 in the morning. You'll know this. So the first time my dad took me to a posh place for afternoon tea, he said, and I quote, and he was a boy, he said, "I'll have my usual, please, Mary." And she said, "Oh, certainly, Mr. Carl. So afternoon tea, crumpets and gentleman's relish." Do you know what? No, this is absolutely true. Do you know what gentleman's relish is, PB?
I haven't got a clue.
It is anchovy paste. Gentleman's relish, I know it sounds funny, is anchovy paste, and certain people think it's a good idea of an afternoon, while you're having your cream and scone, to put gentleman's relish on their own... Honestly, you think I'm making this... It's not a northern thing, it's a classy thing. On their crumpets, gentleman's relish. Listen, you lot, seriously, back me up. This is true. Gentleman's relish.
Well, every day's a school day. I shall swerve gentleman's relish, however, if ever I see it or hear about it. It's not for me.
Right. Talking about schoolwork, there's a great story. I want to play a clip because, well, actually, I haven't got a clip. I've actually got it up on YouTube. You know Lucy Powell, the new deputy...
Regrettably, I do.
She's been mocked by the Tories for her own spelling and grammar in a social media post celebrating her new role on Monday. The new Education Secretary opposed draconian spelling tests for primary school pupils, arguing that teachers should focus on creativity. Instead, Labour responded by mocking the Tories for a spelling that Mel Stride, where he spelt Labour and Britain wrong. But there's Lucy. She put absolutely thrilled the be appointed Education Secretary. So it should be, I am absolutely thrilled to be appointed educator. For me, no more important job for any government than making sure. Improve your grammar, love. The last bit, I can't really see. I think it's something like lots to do. Look forward, to getting started. 3 out of 10, see me after class. There is lots to do. That's the Education Secretary, Pete.
But this is the level of our politicians,
Yeah.
OK? Both the Tories and Labour. That
Both
is
of
what
them.
they reduce themselves to. Actually, there's a country to be run, and actually there's an alternative way of running the country which the Conservatives should be looking at. Instead, they are indulging in this absolute drivel. It's not important. It's a complete load of nonsense. And you know what? It's a perfect example that in the UK, unfortunately, we have politicians with huge egos and tiny intellects.
I'm glad you said
And that's why the country is in the state that it's in. If their brains match the size of their egos, maybe we get things done properly.
Let's not forget, 18 minutes ago for his 6:15 announcement, the new Prime Minister has announced he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from April, which on the surface is a real positive for the hospitality industry. What do you make of that? 0344 499 1000. But I also need your help on text, and I need your help, Pete, because I'm thinking, as Lucy Powell can't spell... Right, and she's the new Education Secretary, and she said that spelling tests are draconian. Oh, God, that's the same crap where, come on, both teams, we can't have a winner because that won't go down well. What a load of old crap
Can't have a loser on sports.
I need a word that I should ask every guest to spell before they come on this show this morning. Any ideas?
Illiterate.
Sorry?
Illiterate.
Very good, but that's easy. We need something like necessary or idiosyncratic verisimilitudes, I was thinking about. Think me of a word, right? Christian, think of a word that we have to put... How do you spell illiterate, then? Come on, then, how do you spell it?
I'm not falling into your trap.
How do you spell illiterate?
Look it up in a dictionary.
No, you spell it or you're out of here. How do you spell it?
I'll have to write it down.
Well, write it down. Well, I'm getting people to ring. You have to write it down. What's this? The Dark Ages? 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. How do you spell it? You've spelt it wrong.
There you go.
Show me that piece of paper.
Well, I'm not a politician.
Show me that piece of paper, Blexley. Oh my! Give me that piece of paper now. Oh my God.
I'm not sniffy about these things.
Illiterate.
Illiterate.
How you're writing? ILL.
ITERATE.
That's not an E.
Yes, it is.
Your writing is utterly appalling, Blexley. It's at the back of the class.
Word.
Think of a word for me, Christian. I need to set people. Illiterate's too easy, but you've got it right. Your writing's crap. 0344 499 1000. Gary Lineker's in the news. Do you want to share this story?
Oh, the sanctimonious former footballer, presenter of Match of the Day for many years.
Yeah, he got fired.
Once upon a time.
Yeah.
And, of course, the highest paid person at the BBC for years.
And can we point out that he left the BBC, and I have to say, credit where credit's due, the Goal Hanger podcast is a hugely successful thing that he does with Shearer and Micah Richards. But it's on Netflix. It was great during the World Cup. It's been signed up by Netflix for the next 2 years. But he was given, Pete, the only interview with Andy Burnham before Andy Burnham became Prime Minister. Andy Burnham went on the Goal Hanger podcast.
Yeah, and Goal Hanger Productions is a huge company.
Yes.
That is very, very successful.
Yep.
So well done, Mr. Lineker.
Yeah, well
for all
done.
that.
Yep.
You know,
Must move him, mate. Yeah.
I certainly do not begrudge people their success. What I do have a bit of a problem, though, is when they turn into sanctimonious, holier-than-thou preachers from on high, which is what Lineker has been for years. He's told us all to take in a migrant, hasn't he?
Yeah.
If we've got a spare bedroom and all that kind of game. Because he did. I'm sure he's got lots of spare bedrooms, a lot more than any of us broadcasting or listening to this show. And now, of course, he's telling us that wealthy people should pay more tax. Mr. Lineker, I have a message for you. There is absolutely nothing to stop you from paying more tax. If you want to pay more tax, you are free to do so. And there's nothing stopping you. So why don't you do it? But no. He has to preach from on high. And, of course, he's got some chums to do it. If he has the comfort of having millions upon millions upon millions of pounds, which he clearly has, then, of course.
But there's a point. There's a point that Gary Lineker and the sanctimonious people, and you're right. If that is his bag, then do it. But the problem is this: for all the people in this government and all the people who might be listening to this who think that, you know, if you've been successful, if you've built a business and employed people and sort of instigated aspiration, you will have paid millions in tax. Without going into details, I have a very good friend. I literally built the most successful business, right? He's going to leave the United Kingdom. Do you know why? Because this government, he will say, I've paid 50%, what more? The government, though, never tells you how many people have left this country and how many millions in tax has been shed because of the way the government treats them. Lineker is just... sanctimonious is the great way to describe him. He's just better than everybody else in his mind, isn't he?
Yes, and
why don't you give all your money away, Gaz? You're a socialist. Go and live in a tent somewhere. I'm being serious. Give it all away if you don't like it. Andy's got a viewpoint on Gaz.
Morning, Jezza. It's Andy from Hull. I know to make the country better. Redistribution of wealth from plunkers like Gary Lineker. How can anybody so thick be so rich? It annoys me. The people like that have got so much money and they're thick as two short planks. They should redistribute it to people like me who work 50, 60 hours a week and still struggle to pay the bills. I see if you'd be happy with that. That seems fair and reasonable. Doesn't it, Gary? You plonker. Go away.
Brilliant. Gary the plonker.
yes, but you see, what he also...
He's a rich plonker.
Yes, very rich and successful, and good luck to him for that.
He's not a bad bloke, to be honest, but he's just very sanctimonious.
I worked with him one day.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
How was that? What?
Let's just say I'm not a fan.
Was he nasty to you?
It was an advertising campaign. It was an online advertising campaign for a well-known brand of snacks, crisps and...
Oh, not Viagra, then? You haven't been promoting that yet?
No.
Okay.
And it was... this was for an online campaign. And we were...
Walkers.
So there was three of us on this ad. One of them was a guy called Colin Furze, who is an absolute crazy, wonderful genius of an inventor, and he's massive on YouTube. He's got millions upon millions of followers on YouTube. He does things like he puts a jet engine on a skateboard and stuff like that. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable.
Where's this show going?
And he's a really, really lovely fella.
Yeah.
I met him and his wife, and they could not have been more hospitable or more charming. We were filming in their house. There was me, and then there was Gary Lineker, who was late, very late, which put pressure on the filming schedule. And at one point, he spoke so dismissively to one of the junior members of staff that I was really, really tempted to get out of my seat and put him in his place.
Oh, God.
OK? As I was contemplating...
Smacking him in the mouth.
No, I can't condone violence. As I was contemplating doing this, the director came in and said, right, we're going to go do this shot, blah, 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 blah. I personally found him to be odious. That was my experience of him for one day. It was a very hot day. The ice cream van pulled up outside. And without a doubt, Gary Lineker was the most wealthiest person in the building. Guess who offered to go out and buy the ice creams?
You.
It wasn't Mr. Lineker. Of
course it wasn't. So Burnham, by the way, the buses yesterday, very quickly, before we get an ad break, £2 for the bus thing. Turns out overnight that £2 is going to be paid for by climate project funds. I'm going to support that as well. If you're going to get rid of some of the net zero and you're going to pay for your bus thing at £2, I mean, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, so your bus fare could come down from £3 to £2.
Do you know who put it up to £3 from £2?
I don't know.
Yeah, Keir Starmer on his first day of being Prime Minister.
Did he?
Yeah.
Right.
So actually the Labour Party, after 2 years, have taken it back to where it was. By the way, if you're just tuning in, Andy Burnham's 6:15 announcement. PM Andy Burnham has announced that he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April. We're honest on this show. That on the surface is a very, very good thing. Is he gearing up to get a bounce to call a general election? I don't know.
I do have a but, though. Why is he not cutting those same rates for restaurants, shops, coffee shops and the such like?
Why is it pubs, clubs and live music
Why
venues?
is it just the nighttime economy? All these other businesses are struggling.
Yeah, that's very true.
Why not make it a cut across the board?
Yesterday we
stimulate the economy.
Yeah, yesterday we discovered that the new Labour education secretary Lucy Powell cannot spell at all. She read a social media post that started, well, it's just appalling. Absolutely thrilled the B to appoint education secretary. That's the new education secretary who doesn't want spelling tests. So, Pete, your decision. We've got to go to a break. Everybody that comes on this morning has got to spell a word. If they get it wrong, the interview's over. I know what I want to do. Embarrassment, bureaucracy, or, wink, wink, mischievous.
Look, I'm not a spelling...
Just pick one of the words.
I am not a spelling and grammar snob. If you can make yourself understood, that's fine.
Embarrassment, bureaucracy or mischievous? What would
Mischievous.
Brilliant. Did the wink work? 18 minutes to 7. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:15, Thursday, July the 23rd, with Talk, the home of common sense, and where your views on the day's news matter to us. You're waking up to the news that Andy Burnham has announced that he's reviewing the prisoner early release government scheme after PC Andrew Harper's widow yesterday quite rightly described it as deplorable that freeing prisoners early can be seen as acceptable. The killers of her husband, 2 of them accomplices, were due out very soon after 6 years of a 13-year sentence. She, like most of us, thinks that that's enormously wrong. And as Burnham said, I'll have a think about it. That sort of caused chaos in jails across England and Wales as officials scramble to work out release plans. But the truth is, and do you know what he said? I can't say I can change the policy completely, but I will look at it in detail. Of course you can. You're the bloody Prime Minister. Some good news, though, genuinely hand on heart. 6:15 this morning in his daily announcement, just for me, Andy Burnham has announced he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April. The cynics are already saying, why next April? Peter Bexley made a really good point. What about restaurants and pubs? Pubs,
shops.
Yes. Shops and... This is the nighttime industry. But we might... Listen... yesterday, we slagged off the £2 bus fare, and it turns out this morning he's getting that money from raiding the Climate Project Fund, which is fine by me. If he does the same with this, that's great. Mischievous is the word that we've picked, because the new Education Secretary can't spell. You're not coming on this show this morning unless you can spell mischievous. How do you spell it, Pete?
Well, it's mischievous, isn't it, really?
How do you spell it, Pete?
Just to help people. I'll write it down because it's the way I do things, so bear with me.
M-I-S... Yeah, I can't read his writing. It doesn't work on the road.
M-I-S-C-H-I-E-V-O-U-S.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Blexley, look at the face on it. Let's go to LA. That's brilliant. Let's go to the United States of America. Let's go to LA. She's the doyen of royalty, the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Naturally, she's called Kinsey Schofield. Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning.
We have a new education secretary who can't spell, so everybody that comes on this morning has got to spell a word. And if you fail, your interview's over. How do you spell embarrassment, Kinsey Schofield?
I thought it was embarrassing.
No, embarrassment. How do you spell it?
E-M-B-A-R-R-A-S-S. Embarrassment or embarrassing? I-N-G.
Ment. M-E-N-T. Kinsey Schofield! Whoa! Brilliant. I thought the Americans weren't good at spelling. How are you?
I'm a little, well, actually, can I tell you while you're talking about this, it's just occurred to me, while you're talking about the Andy Burnham's new team that he's put together.
Yeah.
I know that this is not what we were scheduled to talk about, but as I was looking at, can you pronounce this woman's name, the new Home Secretary's name, because I don't want to offend her?
Shabana Mahmood.
Shabana Mahmood. So I looked her up and I looked up Prince Harry to see if they had a relationship because I felt like they did have a relationship.
What?
And
where's this going?
No. So the Mirror reported this weekend that Prince Harry will continue to lobby the Home Secretary for security.
Right.
And this, of course, is before Andy Burnham takes office, okay? And so I thought to myself, we know he has a relationship with Yvette Cooper. I wonder who will be the new Home Secretary. Well, it's Shabana Mahmood again, which she's been reinstated. But in December of 2025, the Standard reported that Harry personally reached out to her shortly after her original appointment and submitted a formal request for that security risk assessment, and she gave it to him. So I feel like me and my royal commentators have been a little arrogant in thinking that the security situation is absolutely done because in this woman we have a sympathetic ear, and this just might be what turns around Harry's
It's really
luck.
interesting because when just a few months ago they were talking about that there's a project to get Markle and him reinstated, and I kept reading it thinking, where has this come from? Is this government based? Is it just their spokespeople? That'll definitely be so. Listen, I mean, everything he's touched has fallen on its arse, hasn't it? Whether it's trying to get security or whether it's the Invictus. I mean, yes. I mean, I'm being serious. He does that huge case against Associated Press the other day. I would say he's on the back foot. I hate to make it all about her, but she's at it again. Meghan Markle apparently livid after MasterChef judge called her royalty. I thought she wanted everybody to think she was royalty. What's wrong with her?
Well, you know, I think that this is like the perfect example of, it captures perfectly the Meghan Markle brand dilemma. The royal connection, it opens doors, but she also wants to redefine herself beyond it. The irony is that all of those doors open because of the royal connection in the first place.
Why did she come over to England and desperately want her children to spend time with their grandfather, a man and an institution she'd called racist then?
Yeah, I mean, MasterChef Australia wouldn't give a shrimp about Meghan Markle if it weren't for her proximity to the British royal family. And she has to recognize that even on her most delusional day.
Did she go as a contestant on MasterChef? Has it got that bad? What, did she go on to cook a lasagna or something? What happened? Or a bag?
Celebrity. She's the celebrity judge. And apparently one of the regular hosts introduced her as, she said, well, we've had MasterChef royalty on here in the past, but this time we have the real thing. Welcome, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. And there were words exchanged after the fact because Meghan's team had allegedly asked them not to refer to her as royalty, likely because it's so blatantly commercial and she realized she'd be violating you know, the Megxit agreement.
Do you know that all I see there, right? And Pete, you can join me. I'm old-fashioned, right? I make no apology for this. Can you imagine Diana Spencer? Can you imagine that amazing woman going on Celebrity MasterChef as a bloody judge?
I'm going to throw a cat among the pigeons now.
Oh, he's having a morning like this.
I know that Harry and Meghan have alienated themselves from millions. They've behaved appallingly in the eyes of many. But if, or perhaps when, the checks don't come in from Netflix anymore.
Well, they're not.
When the money is tight, I wonder if Harry will be the prodigal son who will look to return home to the UK.
Look, he'll never be the prodigal son.
Apologise, come back, and will the British public eventually forgive them both, embrace them both, and welcome them back in?
I think maybe with him, Bud, but there is more hope, okay, of you having a full head of hair in the next 10 minutes than the British public ever forgiving her. Do you not agree with that, Kins?
I think if Prince Harry was capable of apologizing, he would have done it already. And it's my understanding that he has yet to apologize or to have any self-awareness regarding his behavior in the last 6 years and why it's been so hurtful towards the British royal family. I mean, he made Queen Elizabeth's last few years on Earth a living hell.
Oh, sorry. I was listening then. That's true.
Yeah, I was gripped by what Kinsey just said.
It's true, isn't it?
She makes a very, very powerful case for, perhaps, forgiveness never being a thing. But deep down inside, I am a bit of a marshmallow, and I hate family rifts, and I would love to see...
I think they'll get divorced and he'll come back and
for the sake of the grandchildren. I'm sure that the king sees his role as king as being the most important thing. But my mates who are granddads...
I'm not going to have...
The most important thing to them is their relationship with their grandchildren.
No, I get that.
Bar none.
I get that. I've banned my grandchildren from calling me granddad in public because it's frankly embarrassing that two of them are older than the children that I've got as well. So that's all a bit of a mess. So they say granddad, so shut up, it's Jez. Well, you'll get nothing. But on a serious note, I'm not having that against Charles. I think he's been in a really difficult position. And I think as a father, he probably wanted to do the right thing by Harry. I think he's livid. I think he's probably as hacked off as the rest of us with her. I think apparently you were saying that I think they FaceTime the whole time. But Pete, the point about those two is whether it's Harry on his own or Meghan on her own, nothing ever happens without them leaking it or procrastinating or trying to score points. And if most of the royal family, I would suspect, wouldn't trust them as far as they can throw them. Isn't that true, Kins?
Absolutely. That's why there were very strict systems in place for when they showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, even keeping Prince William and the Princess of Wales in the dark originally was part of that protocol. No photographs were to be released. They didn't want cell phones out. There was like a airport style search that they had to go through. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's fair to say even the king, who did break down and see them, doesn't trust them very much to this day.
Can you just, final question, can you see the British public ever forgiving him alone and her?
I see them forgiving him when he crawls back on his knees, after the California divorce that absolutely destroys him financially, and people feel bad for him.
Completely agree. Kinsey Schofield, I love you. Thank you for coming on. God bless you. We'll see you next week. She's amazing. The host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered on Jeremy Kale's Breakfast Show. Chris says, stop being pedantic, you git to Peter. We were not all privately educated. I wasn't privately educated. I can just spell. But you can spell as well. You got mischievous, right?
Well,
Stop being pedantic. It's total respect.
I have written a number of books and plays, so I'd like to think that I can spell.
Did you write this show that you're appearing in?
Yes, of course.
Did you?
Yeah.
Just as an overview, my friend, I'd love having you on. We agree with Lissy Harper. It's deplorable that freeing prisoners early is acceptable, but your plan that you were talking about, I've only got about 3 minutes, is a positive way, you say, to deal with prisons that you believe as an ex-cop that certain people get nothing from being sent to prison for a year or two, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Anybody over 4 years should absolutely stay there. I thought this was quite interesting, and I know how you'll answer it, but I think it's important, and just at the exact moment that I think it's important, I've managed to lose it. Hi, Pete. I'm up, and Jez, I'm up for the 4 years providing rapists and child sexual offenders, including images, are included in the 4+ years. Some of them only get months right now.
I'm so glad that wonderful person mentioned indecent images, because in my reformed prison system, Hugh Edwards would go to jail because there'd be plenty of prison space, and Lucy Connolly would not. Now, somebody tell me
So
that...
you'd also be changing, in effect, the punishments given out for certain crimes?
Yes, of course.
So for you, just to recap, Under 4 years, you're not. You're going to do societal...
yeah, sentences, punishments, call it what you will.
High vis, you're going to be seen. If you don't turn up, you don't do it, you're going back to prison, but it will be for 4 years.
You won't have gone to prison. You'll go straight to prison.
For 4 years.
And for a minimum of 4 years.
And anybody over 4 years, anybody will serve that full sentence.
Yes, they will. Of course, people from the prison estate will be screaming in my ear, well, what about incentives for good behaviour? There will be a whole raft.
What about
of
forgiveness?
incentives.
What about punishment for the crime you've committed?
Yeah,
I'm sick of it.
But there will be incentives, because you do have to try and keep the peace.
Well, so you would let people out?
Service. No, listen to me, please. There would be incentives for good behaviour and for complying with the system. Yes, you could
What
have
would
a
the
television.
incentives be?
Yes, you could perhaps wear your own clothes. Yes, perhaps you could go to the tuck shop and spend some money that you might have earned. Yes, later on in your sentence, if you are fully compliant, you could have family overnight visits in suitable accommodation.
If I was the Prime Minister, you'd be the Home Secretary. You'd be a pain in the arse, though.
In
Stop
suitable
talking.
accommodation on the prison estate.
I feel like it's watching my dad with you. Do you know that? I respect you so much. I feel quite scared of you.
Well, there's no need to be scared. I'm really not scary in any way.
I nearly said that's all right, Daddy. Peter Blakeslee, you're an absolute legend. A really interesting view of the prison system on the back of it's deplorable, says Lissy Harper, that freeing prisoners early is acceptable. So much to talk about. Peter Blakeslee, thank you. Where's the next...
Thank you for having me. I'm in Wellingborough on Friday night. I'm at the Mill at Sonning near Reading on Sunday night. And I'm in Guernsey next week.
It's a life. The stand-up man, Peter Blakeslee. Go online and find out more. We're back after the news at 7. James Price on Talk, the home of Common Sense. News is next.
Some breaking news. 8 men have been charged with rape and child sex offences as part of a grooming gang operation in South Wales. They've been charged with more than 30 offences. According to the CPS, the charges relate to 8 victims who were children.
Well, let me start by giving comment on Alison Hernandez, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall. She's a stupid, idiotic sycophant.
Anne Widdecombe was murdered, the most high-profile murder in Britain for many, many decades. She was murdered because she supported the...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, or welcome along. You with Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of you, the alarm clock Brits. Thanks for making it Talk. And just tell your friends, whatever you're doing on the night shift, you're heading home, you're heading out, the kids are winding the hell out of you. You're basically going to work today, aren't you, to pay lots and lots of tax to allow all the crap that's going on in this country, like people coming here illegally. I don't know. Honestly, there's so much in the news every single day. What are you waking up today? Well, look, our new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has made a thing about announcing something at 6:15. And listen, fair play. He's obviously offering morsels to people. Not sure how they're all going to be paid for. Yesterday, he announced a £2 bus levy. That's all it costs to go on a bus. We were very critical. Today, we found out that... Actually, to be fair, he's going to fund that with raids on the climate project funds, which is brilliant. 6:15 this morning, he announced he'll cut business rates by 20%. This is impressive For pubs, clubs and live music venues, that from next April. Cynics are saying he's going to hold an election. Other cynics are going, where's that 100 million coming from? But the fact of the matter is, you could look at this, if you're being honest, and say, he's listening. Love to know your thoughts. 0344 499 1000. You're waking up as well to... it's such a horrible story. Yesterday, of course, it came out that those 2 of the 3 thugs that caused the death of PC Andrew Harper in 2019 and left his widow, Lissy, to fight and create Harper's Law, could be early release. This is Starmer's policy. Let's cure overcrowded prisons by letting people out early. No, let's get rid of foreign prisoners, let's build more prisons and let's people serve the bloody time they're given. She said, all over the Telegraph, it's utterly deplorable that freeing prisoners early is acceptable. Everybody would agree. And as a result, Andy Burnham said yesterday, I can't say that I can change it, but I'm going to look into it. It's nice and thoughtful, isn't it? Prison chaos as Burnham calls halt to early release. Burnham forced to review early prison release. Again, he's listening, which is a lot more than other politicians, certainly in that party, have done. So we should compliment him for that. 0344 499 1000. There's been a real Mickey take this morning out of both the Tories and Labour. Certainly Lucy Powell, the new Education Secretary, has been absolutely and utterly vilified for this. If you're looking on YouTube, she made she wrote a tweet about how she was thrilled to be the new Education Secretary, and her first line said, absolutely thrilled there be a point Education Secretary. So 3 out of 10 for Lucy Powell. Mel Stride, I mean, he's on the show regularly. He responded. They picked holes in the way he spelled Labour and Britain, none of which gives us much confidence about the ability, grammatically, for politicians to be running our life. So we just thought it was a bit of fun today. We're going to... anybody who comes on has to spell a word I give them or they're not on. That's good. And also Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker, how wonderful. He's popped his head above the parapet. He, with another 120 British millionaires, are telling the new Prime Minister, we want to pay more tax. We want to pay more tax because we want to make sure everybody's all right. Now, you might think that's nice. Anybody who thinks it's not is going to be accused, oh, you're rich, whatever. I would respectfully say thousands and thousands of people who are successful and aspirational have left this bloody country and we've lost all the tax they pay because it seems to be, if you speak to people who are successful, they'll say, we've paid enough tax. Let's get an opinion. I think this might be... Mike, good morning.
On the point of... paying more tax. I'm a millionaire and I'm also leaving the UK, unfortunately. Difference with me is I'm a veteran, so I think I've done my bit. I also pay 50% tax and I'm afraid I have to cut in on this one. We can talk about more money, all we like. We got more money and we give more money every time. We've even got 10,000 charities, active charities globally, who ask for more money every year. And you know what happens? Not much of the problem gets solved. It's not just about the money. It's attitude that will change. This is why millionaires and multimillionaires are in the very top and 0.5% of the world. It's the attitude. It's not always about the money. Anyway, great show.
I think that's the first millionaire we've ever had on this show. 0344 499 1000. You might disagree with Mike. You might disagree with me. You might think that anybody who is successful should be forced to pay more tax. I would simply say that if aspiration and success breeds wealth and that creates jobs and in essence then benefits us all, if you crush that to such an extent, then you will lose so much. But, you know, is 50% not enough? Why, if most people are paying 25 and you've done really well, why isn't 50% enough? And Gary Lineker, listen, I'm sure he means well. It's just, Pete Brexit was right. It's just a bit sanctimonious, really, isn't it? 7 minutes past 7, whatever you want to talk about, it's up to you. The light is shining in. It's just broken through the clouds. If I'm squinting, we might need to lower the old blinds again, as the actress said to the bishop. Where did that come from? 0344 499 1000. James Price, former government special advisor. You're ready for this. You can't come on this show this morning unless you can spell, JP, OK? Oh, he's rubbing his hands with glee.
I can spell JP. JP, there you go.
No, not good enough. Did you see the Lucy Powell thing? It's appalling, isn't it? It's the Education Secretary.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, come on. It's just such an easy open goal. What are you going to test me with? Come on, Jezza.
So she actually said primary school spelling tests are draconian and she can't spell. Brilliant. OK, bureaucracy.
BUREAUCRACY.
Get in there, James Price. Do you know, halfway through that, I'm thinking, if he gets this wrong, I've got to speak for 20 minutes on my own. I'm stuffed here. Good man. Welcome to the show. As an overview, because I've got used to this 6:15 announcement by Mr Burnham, our new Prime Minister, how have you seen the first 4 days of the Messiah from Manchester?
Well, first of all, obviously, I need to apologise for not being sufficiently northern, as Andy Burnham has decreed all people must be. I don't have any ferrets down my trousers or anything like that right now. So to get my land acknowledgement apology for being from the southwest out of the way. I think the whole thing is just pathetic, right? They've defenestrated a sitting prime minister, someone whose letters are sat with nuclear submarine captains, someone who was asked by the king to form a government, someone who won a big majority, however useless he is, and however decent it was and smart in some ways to get rid of Keir Starmer, they've replaced him with someone who still thinks he's a local council leader, right? The ATP that you might get off a week off your energy bills, that probably because of the extra borrowing that will cost and will create more inflation, which probably means you end up spending more at some points. The £2 bus fare limit, which was something the Conservatives put in, and it was Labour themselves who raised that to £3, so it's just gone back down again, and yet Andy Burnham is saying that this is the most important thing that's ever happened. And now this business rates example sounds lovely. Again, Jez, who's going to pay for it? I think in the announcement it said, oh, it's going to be paid for by certain organisations that don't add any value to the community. Well, I'm sorry, I'm absolutely terrified that these morons think they are the ones who are now entitled to say what does and doesn't contribute to the community or to the country in some way, and just to punitively tax it. I don't think trade unions add very much to the sum total of our community or our country. So should we put the tax on them? Should we put the tax on union levies? That might be quite a fun plan, but I'm not sure it's going to be that. I'm sure it's probably just going to be, I don't know, blokes that wear tweed suits or something.
I think, I mean, this is really interesting, mate, from Deborah. She says, James, she says, my take on Burnham, he's offering little gestures to pull people in, the Pied Piper all over again, lure the rats, do the job, then face a government that refuses to honour its promise. And just like the tell, he took his revenge and claimed his own reward. That's my read on it. Don't be taken in by Burnham or this Labour government. They're all aligned in dragging this country down. Look, you were a special advisor. I've never been. So I would tell you, from the outside, it was a stunningly, brilliantly orchestrated coup, right? Don't care what anybody says, brilliant. And, I mean, look, it happened. I can't get away from the fact, and this morning, you know, another announcement, cutting business rates by 20% on pubs, clubs and live music venues. On the surface, that sounds great. What about shops and restaurants? But that's just me being cynical. You know, we know he has a friend, late nights and that. But he, you know, that says I'm listening. The bus says I'm listening. The VAT, yeah, ATP, let's be real, because it's going up by 30%, says I'm listening. But I think the mistake, the two things I want to say about the past 4 days is this. First, I don't think the British public anymore, Jay, are as they have been in the past. It's just happened, or it's the Prime Minister making an announcement. I think maybe it's social media, maybe it's what politicians have done to destroy our confidence in their ability over the last number of years. I think almost everybody, to a man and a woman, now starts to question how this is going to work. I've had hundreds of texts this week before I even worked it out about the VAT on electricity. I had hundreds yesterday about the bus thing, saying the Tories had it at 2, they put it up to 3, you're just going back. I've had people today saying that might sound good, but what about the other parts of the business, and where's that 100 million coming from? Now, the bus thing apparently came from raiding the Climate Project Fund. I don't know if that's true. He's dethroned old Millipede, doesn't he? He's off as Foreign Secretary, but the British public are far more intuitive now about politics, and they're questioning things. The thing I can't get away from, which probably is akin with you, he just looks like the leader of a student union to me. I just can't. I don't know. I mean, what an extraordinary first 4 days. We had streeting in the hot mic moment. It's not been, to me, professional and mature, or is that unfair?
No, I think you're exactly right. I think this is the challenge that people like you and I, Jez, and everybody listening are going to have to get the messages out there that we've been saying for years now, that the country is in a deep state of crisis. And I don't say that because I enjoy it, and I'm not saying it that it's entirely Labour's fault. I think I've been probably as critical as any member of those last Conservative governments as anybody in criticising the Tories for not stepping up and meeting the moment. But things get worse and worse and worse if you don't have the energy and the ideas to make them better. And we are sliding towards some really dark times. Again, I'm not saying that because I think this is great. Oh, yeah, I like to bash the country. The complete opposite is true. Much like Mrs. Thatcher, and she couldn't bear to see the country in decline. But Andy Burnham is acting like the only problems are that some people that get the bus can't have quite as much money because they've got to spend a bit too much money on getting the bus. That is not the biggest problem, far from it, I'm afraid, facing the country. We're facing some really, really dark existential threats, and we can just go over some of them, but because they're so enormous, they are so big that people can't get their heads around them. So, it's easier to think about £2 or £3 on a bus fare than the fact that we are not two but £3 trillion in debt into the hock to those bond markets that Andy Burnham says we shouldn't worry about anymore. The fact that we spend over £100 billion a year. Again, how to try and get that into context. It's more than we spend on the education budget. It's more by double or something than we spend on the defence budget, just to service our debt interest payments. And when Burnham comes out with these lies, how he's going to find ways to pay for these things, which is not true, this idea that, oh yeah, well, we're going to give some money away to third world countries for climate initiatives, but now we're going to ask them to pay it back. Well, you still send the money out in the first place, so where's the money for this other announcement coming from? And the reason that you give the money in grants is because you know you're probably not going to get the money back anyway, because these are corrupt third world kleptocracies in the first place. So you're not going to get that money back. So the bond market's going to look at this and go, the guy is deeply unserious. We are going to increase the amount of money that we charge the British government, which means the British taxpayer, for borrowing. And suddenly that 100 billion a year that we're spending, which will go up to 101 next year and 103 the next year, will go up even faster. And then there's even less money for schools and for hospitals and for the damn buses. And suddenly you're in a sovereign debt crisis where we cannot pay, taxes go up, more people flee, which I know we're talking about, everybody else is more immiserated, and you are stuck in a doom cycle. It's pulled into a black hole from which you cannot escape. It is that serious. And that's just one of the existential issues before we talk about energy or immigration or defence or any of the other...
Well, do you know what? In layperson, you're far more intelligent than me. You're brilliant. From the first moment he arrived in Downing Street, and I'm not decrying a 20% cut in business rates for pubs, clubs and live music venues, because that essentially is good news. I'm not decrying a £2 charge for buses, because to many that's good news. The VAT thing to me. They all sound to me like little sweeteners. He has not mentioned stopping the boats. He has not mentioned the welfare budget. He has not mentioned net zero. He has not mentioned drilling in the North Sea. He has not mentioned a full national inquiry into the grooming gangs crisis with judicial powers. And I suspect, and I could be wrong, that if you knocked on any door, people would be talking about those five more than they'd be talking about the cost of a bus ride. I mean, I could be wrong. The hospitality industry might disagree with me. I get it, I get what he's doing, but it should be more serious than that. And I've had people already saying, Starmer was appalling, but there was a serious... I don't know, it's just the I'm not wearing a tie to work and I'm going to Manchester in North and all that. By the way, can I just give a little... James won't mind this. Can I just give another little plug? Isabel Oakeshot's been working on something extraordinary, and on Monday we've had an undercover reporter in Manchester, the jewel in the crown that is Andy Burnham. There's a place, I've worked there for 15 years, Piccadilly Gardens, you could go and sit and have your lunch. It's not called Crackadilly Gardens for any other reason than Andy Burnham is not the Messiah. I'll say about some footage you'll see. The undercover reporter in an hour got offered drugs 4 times, broke up 3 fights with women, and there are rats the size of rabbits. But no, don't worry, that's not a force. I mean, that's genuinely true. So I'm sure that Andy Burnham, the bee buses and everything's great and blah, blah, and maybe he'll be a success, but I think he doesn't quite yet grasp, A, the seriousness, and B, the cynicism that we rightly feel because this country's on its arse. That's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's take some of Andy Burnham's prior examples from inside Manchester, where he talked about wanting to end rough sleeping and homelessness. And I think that's one of the first announcements that he came out with, saying he's going to do this.
Stubbles.
That sounds great, right? Who doesn't want that to happen? Who doesn't walk past somebody on the street down on their luck and think, God, I wish we could do more to help them? Brilliant. Okay. In Manchester, the numbers started to go down a little bit. And then they went up again and they skyrocketed. And someone said, well, yeah, but that's actually a little bit COVID, but it's not, because the numbers start going up afterwards. Actually, across the whole country, there were schemes during COVID. It's the fact that in some areas, because you put more resources into that and less into other ones, yeah, the numbers went down. And then homeless people from other areas went, oh, brilliant. I can get a house and I can get all these other things. I'll go over to Manchester. Right, okay, someone on the left is now dangerously close to understanding what an economist would call a second-order consequence, right? I give out free money. People go, I like free money. What happens next? Right? This is the key difference, I think, between the left and the right, that those of us on the right are capable and willing to think about the second order or even the third order consequences of our actions. If I steal this thing, I get the thing. Oh, no, wait. Yes, then I get arrested. Plenty of people can't think past that. Burnham with the homelessness, he was so close to getting it with the second order consequence. It's not going to happen. And so for all of these little goodies that he gives away, what's going to happen next? As I've explained, the money situation for the country is going to get worse. And focusing on these tiny little things, so what's the consequence of that going to be? It's going to be that our enemies in Russia and in China and Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood and all the rest and all the people running the small boat gangs are going to go, my God, they've got a total moron in charge of them now. Let's go take advantage of Blighty.
Two stories that I've got to do with you. One, the second one is new, and I can't wait to see your face. Gary Lineker, though, the first one, and another 120 British millionaires have written a letter to the new Prime Minister saying they want to pay more tax to help more people. This is Gary Lineker, the Goal Hanger podcast on which our new Prime Minister went. He didn't go to the Times or the Mail or the Telegraph. The only interview he did before he crowbarred his way into number 10 was with Gary Lineker's Goal Hanger podcast. My view is, I think 50% plus, 9%, whatever the other thing is, income tax or whatever, not income tax, what's it, I don't know what the other thing's called, is good. I think if you give half away, I think if you're successful, that's a good thing. But they never argue, do they, about the thousands of people. We had one on Just Then, Mikey, who are going to quit the United Kingdom, having paid hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of tax and done their bit, and they're still being squashed, which to me then says, we don't want you to be aspirational, we don't want you to be successful, we just want to crush the bits off you.
Yeah, we already have an incredibly progressive taxation system. The richest 1%, or the 1% who pay the most amount of income tax, pay like 29-30% of it, 1% up to 30% already. And you get people obviously at the bottom end of the spectrum who pay almost nothing or nothing if they don't meet the personal allowance threshold. So you've already got a system where the richest, they're not asked, by the way, to pay more. No. They are forced to, under pain, obviously, of being sent to prison eventually. So you've already got a very progressive system. And if Gary Lineker wants to spend some of his millions writing a cheque to the Treasury, they'll accept it. He can just do that. But again, it's not understanding the second-order consequences. What happens to the guy who's on that threshold if he's going to start then paying more tax? He or she are just going to stop working.
And you know the other thing that annoys me about this, and it's just come to me, because when I'm talking to intelligent people like you, it does come to me. Lineker and his ilk will go on about 120 millionaires should pay more, but they would never address the problem is that we have a benefit still that is skyrocketing out of control because there are hundreds of thousands of people who are not mentally ill or disabled who are gaming that system and taking money away from people who genuinely want it. So he'll stick his head above the parapet and go, oh, I should pay more tax, but he would never ever look down a camera lens and go, do you know there's about 2 million people screwing us on the welfare state, and those people need to be outed. The other story is just for you before I move on. James Price, a stalwart of this show and a legend, working from home staff, we've just had this in, should be able to opt out of calls on camera, says a judge yesterday. Ordering workers to join Zoom or Teams calls with their camera on can amount to disability discrimination, an employment tribunal found yesterday. Some workers can be anxious or overwhelmed by having their camera on, and employers could end up being liable to pay damages, says the judge. James Price.
Well, if the judge says it, there we go. Look, see, it's discriminatory. I'll keep my hand over the camera.
Yes, are you feeling threatened? What is that at your hand? It didn't look like your hand, but there we go. So are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling overwhelmed by being on camera?
I'm always overwhelmed when I'm in your presence, Jez, even if it's just down the camera.
Doesn't that just sum up how crap we are? Honestly, I just...
It's so pathetic. But again, what's the next order consequence of this? Yeah. Someone will be working from home, then they won't, and then they'll say, oh, I'm too anxious, and suddenly it will be true, and they'll box themselves in. Even if they're working... I mean, this morning I'm in my home office right now because it's nice and early, and I still want to be with you. But there will be people who will then go, oh, now I can't actually face going outside. Now I can't actually face even doing the job. It's not kind to pander to people like this.
I'm much older than you. I don't understand it. We had to... We had to do... Mark's looking at me. Marky and I say we had to do the extra shift. We had to go the extra mile. We had to walk to work or ride to work. We weren't driven there. We went, oh, I'm anxious. I've got to go. God, I nearly swore. Jesus, God. What about gumption? That was a word my old man used to use. What about gumption? What about verve and desire and commitment and just show that you... And do you know the thing is, right, when Lineker and his ilk stand up and they say, you know, anybody that's made money should give it all away, that disrespects, and Mike touched upon this, people who are successful it's not all a silver spoon. They've grafted for years and they've put their necks and their families' necks on the line, and they should be respected.
It's super important that people, you know, we all know this, right? Well, by the time you go to bed, when you lay your head on the pillow, do you think you've had a good day? Do you think you've contributed something? Have you made some money for your family? Have you made your wife laugh? Have you taken the dog for a nice walk and had a special memory with them? Have you made your kids happy and helped them with their homework? Have you helped a stranger? If you've done none of those things, you know deep down in your gut that you've not had a good day and you should change it around. And we should encourage a society where people try and strive to help other people out and to do something good. So when they go to sleep at the end of the day, they know they've given it their all. That's the kind of society we should build, not one in which we protect people from ever trying to do anything for themselves.
Mate, I love the bones of you, you know that. We must have that beer. I'm sorry I've let you down on that a couple of times. But the legend that is James Price, thank you so much. Special government advisor for the Tories. How intelligent is that man? 7:25. We're live across the UK. Kevin, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Kevin in Sheffield. If the breaking news is true this morning that business rates are being reduced, that's great news. It's well overdue. Our publicans and people who have clubs and live venues, they've desperately needed help for a long time, and this has been a long time coming. I do think, however, the cynic in me thinks that it's a bit of self-interest. Let's remember that Keir Starmer and most Labour MPs are banned from pubs because of what they've done.
I thought it was disgraceful, and you know, cabinet ministers are allowed to joke about things, but to joke about the fact that we've released 50,000 prisoners from jails under the Labour government since they came to power, I think is extraordinary, and I think it just reveals the contempt that there is. Like, Labour ministers just don't think that that matters. I think it's disgusting, and you can only imagine how PC Andrew Harper's family feel about that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:27. We're live across the UK. JK on breakfast. So much to talk about. The early prisoner release scheme. The announcement by Prime Minister Andy Burnham at 6:15 that he's going to cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April. Another sweetener. How will it be paid for? Is a general election approaching us? I don't know. It's just I said to James Price here, it just seems a bit. Does it seem serious? I don't know. Gary Lineker's been out in force. He thinks he and other 120 millionaires should indeed pay more tax. Quite happy for that to happen. Gary from Skull in Norfolk says, great show again, Jez. What has Gary Lineker ever given the UK apart from BS? Paul in Dorset, once the T-shirt tyrant from Number 10 has finished dripping out his futile 6:15 attempts to grab headlines, the real headlines will follow. Andy, tell us about higher taxes. No more drilling in the North Sea, no halt to illegal immigration. declaration, no increase in personal tax allowance, and yes, I can spell alliteration. Not sure you can. I'm only joking. Wayne in Frodsham, you can't label me on this. I've already lived there 15 years. I'm only joking. He says, can you let James Price plus the rest of you southern guests and co-hosts know that not all people north of Watford Gap ride penny farthings or keep ferrets down their trousers? I wouldn't say... Flat caps, maybe. Talk, if 100... Thanks, Wayno, you good lad. Michelle in St Albans. If 120 millionaires want to pay more tax, fantastic. They can overpay as much as they bloody well want. Thank you. Dave's endorsed it. Wondering how long Andy Pandy decided on the £2 fare cap, because he said, I would suggest that bus was prepared and sprayed with the big coin on it before he was Prime Minister. We've got a video of this. Dressing up a bus like that doesn't happen overnight. This is the video. Have we got a video of the bus? Let's have a look. This was yesterday, Andy Pandy with his big bus.
Next up, £2 fares. I get people laugh at me for going on about buses all the time. But
you've gone about buses in Manchester.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I go on about them a lot. I do that. But
yeah, but you champion it. That's
the thing is, though, they're crucial to people. £2 cap in place. It means people can save money every single day.
We found out yesterday, actually, we were criticising that, but overnight we discovered that his £2 bus fare cap's going to be paid by raiding climate project funds, so that's a good thing. Morning, Jez. Lucy Powell, the education sector is rubbish at spelling, which can't be a very good thing, says Gary in Bridgewater. Oh, yes, Gary, you've made a mistake. How many people make spelling mistakes? Now, this is a true story, right? Because I've messed up many things in my life. But my daughter rang me the other day and said, can you proofread my CV? Because my first job at 18 was proofreading things. And I would respectfully suggest that... Oh, you see, I would never... Yeah. What are you forgetting, Jeremy? Is it was Rachel... What? Is it... Hold on a second, Reg Gardner. You need to go back to school as well. What are you forgetting, Jeremy? Wasn't it Rachel Reeves and Starmer worker Harmer who put the bus fares up from £2? So you're not gaining anything. It's just going to go back to where it used to be. But you put, is it was Rachel Thief. So Reg Gardner, you're going back down a year. Morning, Pete. Morning, Jez. Check out maximum security mega prison in El Salvador that Richard Madeley went to. Eye-opening. Did he go as a documentary maker? Oh, no, he didn't go into... Let's make that point, because that would be... By the way, good man. All joking apart, good man, Richard Madeley, and I mean that. During the school holidays, says Keith in Oswestry, how did the children get their free breakfast club meals? Because that's disappeared. Yeah, that's true. Dave's in Tenbury Wells, posh there. We might be getting a Burnham bonus on a weekly basis, but when will he address the boats? That's how I think about it. Morning, JK. Are business rates not paid to the local authority? With local government budgets very tight, who will pick up the shortfall? That'll be us then, via our council tax. That's a great point. Jeremy, why can't Peter Blexley, if he's not going to become Prime Minister, have his own show? Listen, I'm seeing the boss. I've been summoned to the boss today at 11:30, which is probably why Dolan's on tomorrow. I'll ask him. 0344 419 1000 is a brave man. One of the things that really annoyed me about the last government was the deviousness. Some of the attacking our veterans with the Troubles Bill, and also Lammy. Lammy was, I mean, he wanted to end jury service, didn't he? And also, my next guest has been desperately trying to find out why Labour refused to reveal the real number of serious crimes committed by migrants. Oh, I wonder why, because they've let them all come in. Robert Bates, good morning, my friend.
Morning, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm good. It was a great article in the Mail. You've tried everything in your power to get Labour to reveal the real numbers of serious crimes by migrants, but you can't seem to get that. I wonder why that is. Can you help me out? I'm a little bit confused.
Well, it certainly raises questions, doesn't it? And actually, I think the Labour government's obstinance on this front, their heel-dragging, and now the fact that they're heading to court to actually block the publication of this information does raise some very serious questions as to what they are hiding. And I think the reason they don't want this information on the number of murders, the number of foreign nationals convicted for drug importation and rape and other heinous crimes is because it will raise some very uncomfortable questions that they are not able to answer. I think the Labour Party is so wedded to its humanist, its human rights, its cultural relativism worldview that actually if we have data that shows certain nationalities are more likely to be involved in certain types of crime, then they will have to start doing something about that. They'll have to think about introducing visa bans for whole nationalities. They'll have to start actually increasing the deportation of foreign nationals. Let's not forget that we've got over 20,000 foreign nationals who have committed serious crimes that are still in this country, and the government is simply throwing its hands up in the air saying we are unable to remove them. If this information is in the public realm, then they have an accountability mechanism in place that they cannot escape, and they actually have to do something about it. And I think this is why actually we are seeing the Ministry of Justice going to such lengths, attempting to conceal it from the public in the courts, because it will require some dramatic action be taken at our migration, with our migration policy. And this is something that the Labour government, especially under Andy Burnham, don't really want to be talking about.
I think it's really interesting because I say interesting. When you talk about using every method available to get Labour to reveal the real number of serious crimes committed by migrants, I think this sums up entirely where we're at. We've almost become, not lawless, but we've almost become apologists for the migrant situation. You're not old enough, I am. If you'd said migration was a problem 10 years ago, you'd have been labelled a racist. And yet the more we dig into this problem, I mean, I'm not going to tell you a name. I'm having a discussion a couple of weeks ago with one of those lefty female journalists. Fine, people, I don't care if you have a different opinion. I pointed out where I live near Bournemouth, 20 miles away, and do you remember that heinous two men that went onto the beach and raped that young 17-year-old girl, and they couldn't be sent home because it would be too traumatising for them. And I said to her, you know, for a woman who talks about women's rights, why are you not more concerned about the impact on a British, English, whatever you want to say, girl who's been raped by two people who shouldn't be there? Do you know what her answer was? White men rape girls as well. And I thought, there's it's just appalling answer, but there's an absolute refusal. It goes against every part of them to even assume that we do not understand. This is, I keep saying this, right, Rob? I don't care where you come from, the colour of your skin, your religion, your caste, your creed. If you think it's OK to let into this country people who, let's have it out straight, have different set of values, men do, who do not understand the culture in which they're coming, the legalities, they don't. If you let them in unfettered and you pay them for the privilege, what the bloody hell do people think's going to happen?
I really loathe that argument that actually, you know, we shouldn't concern ourselves with the crime being brought by newcomers to Britain because actually we've got our own homegrown problems. Yes, I don't doubt that we do have our own homegrown problems, but let's not compound that problem by bringing in individuals who, as you rightly say, do come from nations with vastly different cultural attitudes towards women and girls, and also just towards law and order and society more generally. And actually, I do think some of the preliminary data we've seen from European countries does show that countries from your likes of Afghanistan are hugely, disproportionately committing these types of crime. And I think actually this notion that everyone arrives in Britain as an almost blank canvas and sort of willing to absorb so-called British values is a complete misnomer, and actually it prevents us from having some very, very important conversations to make our country a better place. That's what we want to do here. This is what we should.
But then what chance have you got? Your organisation, the Centre for Migration Control, love it, honestly, brilliant. But I keep going back to the Bell Hotel in Epping, right? Local women said, we are worried about our teenage daughters because two illegal migrants in a hotel have attacked, sexually assaulted two schoolgirls, and it's next door. The council, and we should salute Epping Forest Council, said, yeah, we agree, went to court, and it closed down. Our own government under Starmer said the rights of migrants surpass the rights of our own indigenous population. And they wonder why people, and I've heard it, people look me in the face and go, all you talk about is migration, because it is, along with energy, is at the root cause of so much of the misery in this country right now. Absolutely. You know this Burnham, I want to end rough sleeping. Did you see the Samara Gill report on Talk? Have you seen this? Park Lane?
I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, go online, peeps, because this is... I don't know, 100, Albanians, they say, living rough. We tried to... I mean, she went down there with the cameraman. She was abused. The cameraman was attacked physically, it seemed. Are they going to be told to stop rough sleeping so that they can't continue picket-pocketing? I bet they won't be. It's just dreadful, man.
Well, on the homelessness front, it's actually very interesting because Andy Burnham, whilst talking about homelessness in Manchester, recognised that a large part of the problem was people that had just come over. His solution to that wasn't to actually start calling for a more sensible immigration policy. His solution was to say that we should scrap a policy known as no recourse to public funds, which means recent arrivals, channel migrants don't have access to the welfare state and social housing, which seems like common sense. It seems like quite a fair thing. If you've just turned up in the country, you don't get the largesse and support of the state. His solution was to do away with that and to extend almost immediately to new arrivals, whichever route they've come into the UK from, social housing, universal credit, and so forth. So I do think that is in large part why our current Prime Minister is not talking about the single biggest issue in the country, because his background on this would be politically damning. I did actually see a clip of the Samara Gill report, and I do think it was actually incredibly enlightening on what we are just seeing. You know, these aren't individuals that are doctors and engineers. These are people that have no right to be in our country. They have completely woefully barbaric attitudes in many instances, and I think actually it is time not just to stop the importation of people with those attitudes, but to make a concerted effort to make sure those people aren't in our country either.
Completely agree. Rob, listen, I mean it. The Centre for Migration Control, top organisation. We thank you as ever for your involvement. Robert Bates on Talk Breakfast. Justin, good morning.
Good morning. Whatever happened to making number plates and stuff like that in jail? Let's bring back doing stuff, some productivity. Let's get some return on our investment. And for the people sat at home getting money, there must be something they can do on their laptops.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 20 minutes to 7 o'clock. We're live across the UK. JK on breakfast on the home of common sense. Get your calls in 0344 499 1000. Your texts, I've got so many of them, but I've got guests as well. Roger in Wales, I can never agree to our tax system. I'm on the lowest tax band, but I think, and it's my opinion, it's totally unfair that someone that is successful and earning 6 or 7 figure sums should pay more, because surely they use the same services, drink the same water. Why should they be punished for doing well? Morning, Jez. These working from home snowflakes drive me mad, says Lucy Carter. I work from home because I don't live near a company office and I don't treat it as a slob day. I dress in business casual, work at my desk all day, attend meetings with my camera on and work just as hard in the office. In fact, the quiet environment makes me more productive. Those who wear pyjamas, do nothing and hide off camera give a lot of us a bad rep, and it makes me really mad. This is reacting to the story that a judge yesterday said that sometimes having to turn your camera on and work from home can cause anxiety, and it's unfair for employers to ask. So I hope my next guest doesn't feel that I've impinged on her mental situation. Vanessa Frake, legend, Justice Advisor Reform UK and former prison governor. Are you feeling anxious because I've asked you to put your camera on, Vanessa?
Not at all, Jeremy. I'm absolutely delighted to be chatting to you again.
Good to have you on. Love having you on, Vanessa. Big story, of course. Starmer decides a year ago, I'm gonna deal with, well, Lammy, I'm gonna deal with overcrowded prisons. I'm not gonna build more prisons. I'm not gonna get rid of foreign criminals. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let everybody out. Well, I'm gonna let a lot of people out. And in those days, I think it was 40 or 50% you'd serve your crime, then you could go up for parole. He wanted to bring that down to 33%. I was very outspoken about this. Yesterday, of course, it hit the headlines. PC Andrew Harper, killed in 2019. 3 youths dragged him down a road. His amazing wife, he'd only just married her, Lissy, worked really, really hard to create Harper's Law. She was awarded an MBE. This is what she said yesterday. The news that 2 of the scumbags that killed her husband could be out after 6 years of a 13-year sentence. She said, it has taken me years to rebuild a life that was torn apart in a matter of moments, years to pick up the pieces left behind by 3 men whose actions robbed Andrew of his life and stole our future. Now, once again, politicians are making decisions from behind a desk that will have a real and lasting consequence for victims' families like mine. It is utterly deplorable to me that we have reached a point where releasing prisoners early is even considered acceptable. We speak of justice, accountability and standing with victims, yet decisions like this, Vanessa Frake, do the complete opposite. Your thoughts? Vanessa? Oh, no, that can't happen. She can't freeze at that moment. Try and get her back. I'll just read this morning, Jez. Whatever Andy Burnham says is a distraction rather than showing leadership. We haven't seen any real plan, just a lot of headlines and meaningless speeches. Like Sakir, he seems more interested in being the centre of attention than setting out clear solutions and objectives. I don't believe the promises he's making are credible. He's convinced that we will believe him and should accept him without question. To me, the bottom line is that he isn't focused on the concerns of ordinary British people, including his supporters. Instead, his priorities lie elsewhere, particularly when it comes to migration. Are we having any luck with getting Vanessa back? We're struggling with that. I'll tell you what we'll do. Should we go to a break? Have we got one more break? We haven't got a break to do. Morning, Jez and Pete. Lineker, before taking more money off people and feeding it to the government's money meat grinder, how about they look at spending the existing money better? Stopping payments to migrants, legal and illegal. There's also the small matter of 68 million in public sector fraud. Lucy Powell, ask her to spell psychology. Bet she couldn't. A good word. This is because earlier we discovered that Lucy Powell, the new Education Secretary, can't spell. What about asking everybody to spell environment? Most people miss the N. Well, they won't now if I ask them that because you've given it away. Morning, Malcolm.
Morning, Jezza. Hope you're well. It's Malcolm down in Devon. I've been off the radio for a couple of days now because I've been on the Triumph up north, up in Hull. Bit difficult, really, when you're doing about 70 mile an hour, talking into the phone and holding it and driving or riding. Anyway, this morning I'm up early, off to Bristol, doing a couple of visits up there. Andy Pandy's been up and about, and he cutting 20% off. Why next April? What about this 12-month period? How are they going to get their tax sorted, and how are they going to survive? How many pubs and how many clubs are still going to be around by next April? And he's cutting the climate tax. Does that mean that Ed Miliband's going to sort of be crying soon because of all the money he was given for that one person that he employs to do God knows what with? But anyway, I'm still waiting for that number 10 down in Truro or down in Plymouth to be opened. He's doing that one up north. He's got the one in London. What about the one down here? Anyway, cheers, Jezzer. Have a good day. Bye.
That's Malcolm from Truro, sounding very much like Jethro. He said, I had a good old day down there in Truro. He said, to have a love... Honestly, fantastic. Cornwall, great. Another county ripped apart. 0344 499 1000. Fingers crossed. Justice advisor, former prison governor with a dodgy screen. Maybe she was suffering from anxiety. Vanessa, did you go off because you didn't want your camera on? What happened, Frakey? What happened?
I honestly, Jezza, I have no idea. But the thoughts that be were, just took my internet straight from under my feet. So apologies to everybody and to you. I'm on my phone.
Not at all. No, Vanessa, the response, I wanted your response to Lissy Harper. I mean, calling it deplorable that people should be released early. What are your thoughts?
Oh, completely. My heart goes out to the family of PC Harper. This government, that useless person Starmer, they were warned about this, Jezza. They absolutely knew that there were certain categories of prisoners that would fall into this early release scheme. Those being rapists, child sex offenders, grooming gangs would all fall into this. And unfortunately, as well, 2 of the 3 that were convicted of the killing of PC Harper. And it's abominable. And I totally get people's outrage. I'm equally outraged by it. But, when the Sentencing Act was going through in 2026, the opposition parties made suggested amendments, and it was voted out by Labour MPs. So, you know, I don't understand how Andy Burnham thinks that he can change the law on a whim, because he can't.
It is, to me,
emergency legislation.
Yeah, well, listen, they did it with British Steel. They did it with the pubs for the World Cup. They can do it in a heartbeat. Vanessa, you were a former prison governor, and before we used to speak lots, and you'd say, and I want to put the other side for a reason, because you can explain it. Peter Blexley was saying this earlier. Are there some people in prison on very minor charges that could benefit from... Pete was talking about societal sentencing, high-vis jackets and giving something back. I don't know. But certainly, if you sit and you listen that somebody like Hugh Edwards can look at disgusting images and be walking free, and you can consider that somebody that's committed some sort of heinous crime can be released, I don't genuinely, in a totally basic human way, understand how people expect the British public to swallow that. I don't.
Well, you can't, can you? But, you know, the justice system by the previous Starmer, you know, was all geared towards prisoners. Early releases, prisoners being released, champagne popping corks, etc., at the expense of victims of crime and at the expense of people who were not ready to be released going back into our communities. Yes, you can have community sentencing, absolutely, but it needs to be robust, not in its current form. It needs to be well managed. And let's not forget, Jeremy, that all these prisoners that are due for release on the 2nd of September will be being monitored by an already overloaded probation service.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know, and I'm possibly will ask for an FOI on it, is how this time next year, Jeremy, I bet we're talking about the number of people that have been released on the early release scheme that are now back in jail on further charges.
That's it. And one other thing, because you're great and we love you on this station, the other thing is sentencing. I know I'm getting told that it's really simple. We've only got a minute. How the hell are we, the British public, supposed to have faith in a system that says, Vanessa Frake, you've broken the law, you're going to jail for 5 years, or you can just do 2, though? What message does that send to criminals?
Well, it actually says that crime doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Or crime does pay, doesn't it?
Yeah, crime does pay.
But, yeah, it does. It's no deterrent, is it, to say that, you know, you can do what you like and you're only going to do 33% of a sentence.
It's a joke, man. Listen, great having you on, Vanessa. Thank you. I'm glad you weren't suffering from anxiety, which is why your camera went down. We love a Vanessa Frake. Reforms, former prison governor and justice advisor, 0344 499 1000. Quickly, we've only got 5 minutes. Let's have a quick chat with the political editor of The Independent, David Maddox. Good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm very good. We haven't got an awful lot. I just wanted an independent. By the way, you're not feeling anxious about being on camera, are you? Because there's... No, you're all right with that. I don't want you... Yeah, OK. Yeah. Well, don't sue me. What do you make of the first 4 days of the Messiah from Manchester? Most people are saying giving out little sweets, but the real problems haven't been addressed or even discussed yet, David.
No, but I'll give him his due. At least he's better at politics than Keir Starmer. So...
Yeah.
I mean,
is that a high bar, though? Is that a high bar, do we think?
No, it's not. But Labour MPs at least will be massively relieved about that they've actually got somebody who understands how to do politics. I mean, these little measures he's been kind of littering around. They may be small, but it kind of shows that he's on people's side.
What about how's he going to pay for it, though, David? That's the issue. That's what people are...
that's why I suspect we've got a budget coming in September, October, but let's see.
What do you... I mean, we first day he said, I'm going to end rough sleeping. Manchester doubled it. That's a fact. That's not anybody making that figure up.
It went up and then down again, didn't it? It was kind of...
it went down and then
back up and then up again, yeah.
It's doubled. Yeah. The other thing is that I love the sentiment, hear me out. It's like the VAT thing. I went, wow. And then you strip it down. An £800 bill with a 5%, which is domestic VAT charge, is 40 quid, and it's going up by 13% in October anyway. So it sounds great. I like the thing this morning. He's going to cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues. Of course, the naysayers are saying, what about restaurants? What about shops? But The truth is, am I right or wrong, that I think the British people are more switched on now, David, and they will be asking, where's this coming from? I guess we're thinking that we're all going to be paying more tax, because that's what I'm getting this morning on the show.
Well, I think we'll be paying more tax for much bigger ticket items than that. I mean, this is kind of small beer, really, in the kind of grand scheme of things. So, you know, I mean, if he's talking about raising the tax threshold, that'd be great if he could. But you know, that money has to come from somewhere. I suspect they're going after a wealth tax.
Do you?
Yeah, but I mean, he's going to have to raise money somewhere if he wants to increase money on defence, and you know, all this devolution project doesn't come for nothing. And these are much bigger ticket items than, you know, reducing bus fares and...
No, people want to know about immigration. They want to know about the welfare budget, net zero, all the things that we talk about every day on this station. Do you think he's competent? Do you think he can last?
I think let's give him time. I mean, let's give him time. I don't know. Is the answer? He was a good mayor of Manchester, but this is a much bigger, much bigger, much more difficult job. He's not just dealing with buses now. He's dealing with Vladimir Putin. So let's see. But I mean, this first few days has just been kind of lots of small things to show that he's on people's side. Let's wait and see how he's going to construct that first budget. And
but you see, we read so much, David, and I'm sure you did at The Independent, that he and his team expected Starmer to hang around till September. We'll give him the summer to get organised. And Starmer, actually, and the only thing I agreed with Starmer in almost 2 years was he said, stuff it, you got rid of me, you can do it yourselves. I don't need this anymore. I think that caught them a bit on the hook. I get what you're saying, give out little sweets. I get it. I mean, you know, there's a couple of things. The hot mic moment wasn't great, you know, the rough steeping figures that came from Manchester. And I would actually, I mean, we're going to run a report on Monday with an undercover guy, but Manchester's not, it's not the jewel.
No, there are issues there. I agree. There is
the jewel. If you go to Manchester, and I lived there 15 years. Yes, there's been changes in the bus, but it's not the utopia that the 400 Labour MPs seem to think. I'm a patriot. I said it yesterday. I want my country to succeed. For me, it's been a bit student politics the first 4 days, if I'm honest, David.
No, I'm not sure if it has been student politics. I think it just shows a man who's quite good at politics.
Okay.
It's just that we need something, you know, beyond this. We need something actually substantial about what he's going to do. You know, the guy said he has a plan. We don't know really what the plan is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Does he?
You know, dropping
Does he?
tweets isn't going to do the trick in the end.
Yeah.
It's that's going to. You know, my big problem is that this is a guy who's avoiding scrutiny. He's done a couple of short interviews with friendly journalists.
Oh, no, come on, don't be disrespectful. He did the Goal Hanger podcast with Gary bloody Lineker.
Well, quite, you know. And he's not done a press conference yet.
No.
We had a huddle with him on Monday with kind of political editors. It lasted 6 minutes and 4 questions. And before he was whisked away, this guy has not done scrutiny. He got his way in a way with Parliament because, of course, it's not sitting until September. So effectively, he can do what the hell he likes this summer. With nobody...
Quick question, we've only got 1 minute. You know the Speaker's famous for getting angry when they announce government policy outside the chamber. Will he get angry with all these announcements?
He might be a little cross, but of course he can get away with it because Parliament's in recess.
Good man. David, it's always great to get the independent view. Do you think he'll last 3 years, yes or no, quickly?
Yes.
Do you? Interesting. David Maddox, political editor of The Independent, who admitted he was quite anxious coming on camera, but he'd had a huddle with the new Prime Minister, so he's feeling a lot better about life. Thank you very much indeed. Robert Jenrick's been in the news. He's due on the show in the next hour. Also, loads of stuff coming up. We've got Matt Vickers. We've got Sarah Vine. Sarah Vine, I love Sarah Vine. She's on the show in the next hour. It's almost 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. 0344 499 1000 is our number. It's a home of common sense. It's where your views are important. We love your texts as well. 87222. Do please, as ever, start your message with the word talk. But the news at 8 is next on Talk.
crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royal tea from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in Crisis. Subscribe to The Royal Tea from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The journey of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just gone 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Talk Breakfast is on the home of Common Sense, and of course your views on the day's news in a tick. Robert Jenrick, Reform Shadow Chancellor. Can't wait to hear what he thinks of the funding plans of Burnham. Listen though, Charlie's got a view. Let's just respect Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker and 120 other British millionaires have come out to tell the new Prime Minister, who appeared on his Goalhanger podcast but hasn't been interviewed by any of us journalists, that he's quite happy to pay more tax on his wealth. Morning, Charlie.
Morning, Jezza. Charlie and George again on their way to work, helping to pay that 40 billion welfare bill. Gary Lineker, you wet blanket. Did you know, Gary, that you can actually voluntarily pay as much tax as you like? So why don't you get down the Barclays and get a couple of million that you took off the BBC that we funded and give them all your money for a week, yeah? Anyway, I don't know, Jezza. I don't know what this country's coming to. It's getting worse and worse, isn't it? Off we go, over and out. Have a good day, everybody.
That's how people feel. If you're waking up this morning, it's sort of turning into a bit of a thing. On breakfast, Andy Burnham, always every morning at 6:15, makes an announcement. On Monday it was, I'm going to end rough sleeping like I did in Manchester. That turned out to be a bit of a porky, seeing as how rough sleeping in Manchester has doubled. Yesterday, or Tuesday, I've lost track, it's so exciting, he announced he was going to cut VAT off electricity bills, and we went, hurrah! And then we found out that it's 5%, because that's what VAT is on electricity bills domestically. So 5% of 800 quid was £40, and that went down the Swanee because it's going up by 13% anyway. Yesterday it was £2 bus fares. Not interested only in that. If you remember, it was Starmer that moved it from £2 to £3, and Burnham's brought it back down. He is, though, agreeing that he's funding that with climate change, so that's good news. Today, 6:15, right on cue, Andy Burnham, and this could be a good thing, announced that he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues. But not already, cynically, as you lot are saying, on restaurants, or indeed shops. 8:05, a man who is permanently in the news because he puts himself out there, Robert Jenrick, Shadow Chancellor. Before we talk about that, there has been a story, and I think we have to approach this, and you would understand.
Yes.
Joe White is the immigration minister in the Labour government.
Oh, yeah, the new immigration minister.
You apparently deleted a voice recording of her where you quoted her as saying, I don't care if we stop the boats. Can we play this clip quickly? Is that all right? Have we got the clip? Let's just, and then you can answer it.
Yeah, by all means.
Let's do it.
I agree. And my focus is to make sure that we stop those boats. So we actually... Pardon? I don't care who we stop the boat. My priority... Yes, I care. Okay, so my number one priority is to stop those votes.
Right, Rob, people are saying that you doctored that so that you could just have her saying, I don't care, but in that you can hear, a bit like Trump and the BBC, that she said the opposite. What's your take? Help me out.
Well, it's very confused, to be perfectly honest. A group of locals who were at the meeting, or knew people who were at the meeting, sent me a recording, because my constituency is actually next to Joe's in North Nottinghamshire, and she appears to say with one breath that she wants to stop the boats, then with the next breath, I don't care about stopping the boats. So I made the, I thought, perfectly reasonable point of putting that out into the public domain and asking her to explain what is her actual position. Now, she says that the recording isn't quite right, and that if you have a better quality recording, she's saying something different. So look, I am a fair-minded person. I said late last night, you know what, I'll delete this. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt, and let's see what she actually does.
Did you make a mistake in putting it out in the first place?
No, I don't think so. But look, I am prepared to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't know exactly what happened at this meeting because I wasn't there. It's obvious that recollections vary because...
God, you sound like the royal family. That's what the Queen said.
Some of the folks who were there left thinking that she was weak on this issue. She says that she wasn't. In fact, she's very tough. We'll have to see.
She published the full audio in which she said, I don't care who will stop the boats, but my number one priority is to stop those boats.
Well, let's see. The point I actually made in the tweet was this. Andy Burnham doesn't give a stuff about stopping the boats.
Haven't heard a thing.
And I stand by that 100%, because we've now heard from him on the steps of Number 10 in various announcements over the course of the last few days, including the ones that you just mentioned. I don't think he has mentioned immigration stopping the boats once.
I can tell you he hasn't.
I find that astonishing.
I can tell you that he hasn't. I can tell you he hasn't mentioned immigration, the welfare benefits budget, net zero, or a judicial-led, call it what it is, rape gang inquiry. He hasn't mentioned that. Now,
and do you remember, Jeremy, when he was standing in that by-election in Makerfield, he said everything he did if he was Member of Parliament or Prime Minister would have to pass the Makerfield test, by which he meant he would be guided by the common sense views of people in places like Makerfield. Well, it's funny, isn't it, that as soon as he got elected and has walked into Number 10, he doesn't mention immigration stopping the boats at all. He wants us to all forget about it. Well, we're not going to forget about it. In fact, the first people have come across on small boats already. What is he, Shaban Mahmood, and now this new minister, Joe White, going to do about it? Reform are going to hold them to account every single day, because we would stop the boats, not in 10 years. We'd do it in our first
Do you welcome any of Burnham's announcements? And I include in that rough sleeping, VAT on fuel, the £2 bus fare, and especially today, the 20% cut in business rates for clubs, pubs and live music. Do you welcome, as the Shadow Chancellor for Reform, any of those?
Of course I do, Jeremy. Look, people are really hard up at the moment. People are finding life very tough. We need to support people and small businesses. My problem is twofold. One, it feels like he's going an inch where you need to go a mile. He's waited years to be Prime Minister, 16 years since he first stood for leader of the Labour Party, and yet this is it. These small policies, like chucking sweeties out, you know, this is it. And secondly, where is this stuff going to be funded from?
Well, that was my next question.
Because everything that he's saying seems to either be unfunded or he's got some very vague answer. You know, let's go through them. The first thing he said was he was going to cut VAT for electricity bills. Reform said that in March, incidentally, and we said we were going to fund it by scrapping net zero subsidies like heat pumps and electric vehicles. He doesn't have a plan as to how to do that. The minister responsible for the policy that he's canning, the digital ID cards, came out immediately and said, well, they weren't funded anyway. So that's clearly not funded. I think everyone accepts that now. Then yesterday he said that he was going to do his sort of next policy.
The buses.
The buses.
But he did announce overnight, I should drop this into you, it's reported he will raid climate project funds.
Well, yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
Well, yes. Well, of course it is. I want to I don't want to send any foreign aid to rich countries. I want to spend money on British people. But Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary, came under a bit of scrutiny on a rival show to yours yesterday morning and couldn't explain it at all.
No.
She certainly didn't understand how that was going to work. And then today he says he's going to cut a bit of business rates for pubs. Obviously that's good, although Reform want to phase out business rates for pubs and cafes.
Is he stealing Reform's policies, Rob?
No, he's just doing little things here and there. The thing is, there's a big disagreement at the heart of politics today. Do you basically think the country is all right and it needs some tweaks around the edges? That, I would argue, is Andy Burnham summed up. It was Keir Starmer as well, and it's Kemi Badenoch as well, because she says that Britain isn't broken. Or do you think the country's in a mess and needs radical change? That is what Reform is driven by, the sense that if we don't grip this country, it's going to slip away, and it requires urgent, radical solutions.
You would be cynical, as I have been, as to where this money is coming from, but he's playing politics. You would acknowledge, as I've done, the bar wasn't very high, but he's better at playing politics than Starmer.
I mean, my daughter said that he reminds her of a supply teacher. You know, one of these jovial supply teachers who comes in and wants to please everyone.
Well, David Maddox at The Independent didn't agree with me, but I had this
doesn't
sort of
basically
burning...
have a clue what he's doing.
Well, it looks to me a bit student politics, if I'm completely honest. But listen, I could be wrong. What you mustn't fail to watch on Monday is, I've been talking about this all morning, Isabel Oakeshott. We've done some great work. We have had an undercover guy. Manchester, of course, is the jewel in the crown for Andy Burnham, and Piccadilly Gardens. I spent 15 years there, so I can talk about it. Used to be wonderful. It's not called Crackadilly for anything else. Let me tell you, the man that did the... he was offered drugs 4 times in 1 hour on thing. Rats the size of rabbits, and people flighting, and no police in sight. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you should be thinking about.
I've had a long-standing interest in tackling homelessness. We all want to see people who are sleeping rough. Brits in particular are sleeping rough off the streets and into a better life. And I actually worked with Andy Burnham on that many years ago. But his record is not good on this. You know, he made some progress in the early years, and then it all slipped away. And for, I think, each of the last 5 years, rough sleeping in Manchester has got worse and worse and worse. So it's a very laudable aim, but I don't think he has the answers to that one.
You were the Shadow Justice Secretary, and I have to say, this story has almost eclipsed, and I think quite rightly, any of those small sweetie-like announcements. Yesterday, incredible sort of intervention. 2 thugs who were part of a threesome that dragged PC Andrew Harper to his death in 2019. They were given 13 years each. The guy that drove the car, 16. His incredible widow, Lissy, hearing that these 2 could be released 6 years into 13-year sentences. Front page of the Daily Telegraph, Rob, today. It is deplorable that freeing prisoners early is acceptable. One can talk about the family and the victim and all of that. But as an ex-justice, just explain this to me and to people who listen and watch this. Why the hell, and I'm sure the Tories were part of this, but why the hell, if I say to you, Robert Jenrick, you've done that, you're going to jail for 2 years, is it any sort of punishment that you know the minute the door shuts, you'll be out in 2 years? Why are we not insisting that criminals are not released early? This early release thing that Lammy came up with, we're talking about people who view images online could be out. This is not just burglars and stuff, not that a burglar gets caught. This is wrong, isn't it? Fundamentally wrong.
It's completely and utterly deplorable. Look, firstly, the sentences that were handed down were pitiful. So much so that actually the law was changed. Harper's Law was brought in so that if you kill a police officer, you get a mandatory life sentence.
She worked on that, and she said, I feel let down by the very politicians who I work with.
The irony was that her own husband's killers got a very short sentence, and she changed the law so that that would never happen again in the future. But then to add insult to injury, Lammy and now the new Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, are pursuing this early release policy that means that they're only going to serve half of the original sentence. I find it absolutely astonishing. And the sad thing is, the answer is within our grasp. 20% of people in our prisons are foreigners. You've got to get these people out of our country. So instead of releasing paedophiles and rapists and actual killers, like those of PC Andrew Harper, what you've got to be doing is picking up the phone to the likes of Pakistan or Jamaica, countries where we have a large number of their citizens in our prisons, and saying, take these people back.
And what if they say no? Very quickly, what about that Rochdale paedophile that Pakistan have said no? I'd stop visas.
Well,
I'd
that's
get
right.
strong with these countries.
We are not a weak country, or we don't need to be a weak country. Shabana Mahmood could say to the Pakistanis, I'm not going to issue another visa until you take Shabir Ahmed back.
Now, but Andy Burnham says, on the back of Lissy Harper, bless her heart, and it's in every paper, on the basis of her calling it deplorable, this is Andy Burnham, I will review prisoner release. My question to you is, does he have the power to stop it?
Well, it is in legislation now, and many of us, myself included, fought to stop that when it was going through Parliament. So he wasn't an MP, I guess, at the time, but his colleagues all trooped through the division lobbies to vote for this plan, and it was made very, very clear to the Labour Party, I said it myself across the dispatch box, that you are voting to allow rapists, paedophiles and killers out, not just, as you say, people for supposed minor crimes.
Absolutely. You need to make that point, it's so important.
They knew what they were doing and they proceeded to do it. Of course, it's always within the gift of the government to come forward with emergency legislation and change course, and that's what I would urge them to do.
The only thing I'd say about that is I always find it astonishing when people say, and I'd be interested in Burnham's response to this, oh no, we can't do this. Well, A, and when you've got a massive majority, but B, and two, and this might sound flippant, it's not meant to, they changed the hours that you could pub drink within 3 days to accommodate England. They did it with British Steel. This is a disgrace. For that woman, for victims, what does it say to victims and victims' families? Oh, I tell you what, he did that to your husband or your wife or your business or your home, but you know what we told him? It was only really 40% that he's good. I honestly think I'd rather, of all the things, and I think that part of our justice system, we can talk about prisons, we can talk about judges. Morally, to me, that's so wrong. It's totally wrong to say, 10 years, Christian, for what you've done. Don't worry, mate, you'll be out in 3. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I totally agree. And our politics feels very broken to people. Yeah. The MPs are now on holiday until September, and yet you've got these big challenges. Well, I, for one, would be very happy to go into Parliament today and would gladly vote for someone like that to be back in jail, or for Shabir Ahmed to be deported. There are so many big challenges facing the country, and our politics feels so small at the moment that we're discussing these little sweeties that Andy Burnham is handing out.
And I completely agree. I supported the Tories massively in them saying Parliament should come back for a day. I think it's fundamentally wrong. This is an interesting one for you. Al Cairns has turned down a government role overnight. He was offered a job, I think, as Prisons Minister, ironically. He resigned over spending when John Healey, the then Defence Secretary, resigned. John Healey now was the shock turn. He's the Chancellor, and it almost, at that moment, I thought to myself, Burnham's going, you want the money, go and find it. But would that tell me that there are no real intentions of funding the MOD if Al Cairns isn't coming back into government and that John Healey's gone against what he believes in?
Well, let's wait and see. I would find it astonishing if John Healey resigned as Defence Secretary, saying that Keir Starmer's plans left the country defenceless, and then took the reins himself at the Treasury over from Rachel Reeves and didn't pump in billions and billions more into defence. But look, it's a difficult thing for him now. He's got to find this money. We at Reform are very clear that we want to increase defence spending and keep the UK, but we're not going to do it by hiking people's taxes. Everyone's been battered by high taxes already, 66
How are you going to do it then?
We're going to do it by cutting waste. No more foreign aid to rich countries.
11 billion.
No more net zero subsidies. And we're going to get millions of people off welfare and back into the workplace. If you take those 3 things, do you believe Labour is going to do any of those things? No. We know that they're wedded to foreign aid. They've just replaced Ed Miliband, amazingly, with somebody even more extreme on net zero, Miatta Fatunbullah. And on welfare, there's not a cat in hell's chance that the Labour Party backbenchers are going to vote to do what's necessary.
Do you not think that Andy Burnham has the political capital right now when 400 MPs, 379, have said to him, we so believe in you, right, we are definitely, right, we're all for you. He's got them there. Why doesn't he have the political foresight to stand up and go, you might not like this, but I'm going to tell you how it is. Unless we cut a sizable amount off the welfare benefits budget, or I announce that we start drilling, or I announce that I'm putting the Navy in the Channel, all of you 400 and me are toast. And I'm telling you, if we do that, hear me out, we will outfox the right and we'll outfox everybody, and it's bingo. Why won't he say any of that? Why hasn't he got the political intelligence?
I just don't think that he sees the country as being in the mess that it truly is. He thinks that you can just do little bits here and there, be Mr. Nice Guy, and everything's going to muddle through. It's not like that. The country's going to go bankrupt unless we cut this wasteful spending, let alone spending money on defence or schools or hospitals or the other things that people would want us to be investing in right now. And I just do not see it. Welfare reform, I don't believe Labour's going to do. In fact, I noticed last night that Stephen Timms, the highly experienced welfare minister who'd actually done a whole report into how to fix the benefits and has been moved to a different department.
Has he?
He's now gone to housing. That doesn't suggest to me that they're very serious about fixing this
problem. Two more things. Before we do that from yesterday, I just want to very, very quickly shadow a Chancellor, obviously. Gary Lineker and 120 other British millionaires tell the Prime Minister overnight they actually want to pay more tax on their wealth. There is this rumour, of course, that the way that Burnham will fund all of these is with a wealth tax. Where do you and Reform stand on that?
Well, we want the rich to pay their fair share, for sure.
Are they not already?
Well, they pay more proportionally than in many other developed countries
for the same crap
around
services.
The world. But we are a workers' party, so my instincts have always been, if we find waste, we cut taxes, we do it for working people. I've done that already, where I said no tax on overtime, or we'll get rid of Rachel Reeves's
Would you
employers'
instigate a
national
wealth
insurance.
tax?
No, and for this reason, because I don't think it is in the interests of working people to chase away investors from this country, because you need those people here. They're the people who invest in businesses, spend money in the British economy. If you lose them, then it's a loss to everyone. And we've seen that in recent times. Remember, Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt changed the non-dom rules. Many of us felt it was pretty unfair that you've got people living alongside us who are not paying as much tax. But actually, what's going to be the result of that? Less money for everyone.
I do think when this clamour of let's this isn't me defending people who've done well, because I'm into aspiration and building businesses, but I think that you never hear the thousands of millionaires, multi-millionaires who have quit this country in the last however many years, and their tax, the money they would have paid on tax, has disappeared from the
you lost that money altogether. It's gone to America, to Dubai, all these other parts of the world. Look, the problem with Andy Burnham is this. He has advocated in recent years for tens of billions of pounds of new taxes or tax rises. In fact, a reform we've calculated as £38 billion, or £3,500 for every family in the country. This is everything from a death tax if your mum or dad died, taxes on capital gains, on your family home, on a holiday in the UK, even a tax, would you believe it, on a parking space at work. If Andy Burnham keeps messing around over the course of this summer, floating taxes here and there, allowing these hares to run just as Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer did, it's going to cause immense damage to the British economy. Investors are going to leave. It's going to be very damaging for businesses who aren't going to know which way to go. He's got to rule out these taxes, be very clear with the public, and not allow this dangerous climate to stymie the British economy for months.
We've only got a little bit of time. This is a yes or no. Do you think that these sweets, these little announcements every morning at 6:15, do you think he's laying the ground for a general election, Rob?
I think it's very possible. So Reform have to be ready, and in fact we are ready. We're getting our candidates in place, we're building our infrastructure, we're writing our manifesto, we're building a plan so that if we were lucky enough to walk up Downing Street after that general election, we wouldn't be talking about these minor things. We'd be talking about how do we stop the votes? How do we change net zero? How do we get the economy going again? A proper plan to fix this country.
I know your man, Sam, and I know you, but I just wanted you to say that if you need any media help, I am your man. Yesterday, the new cabinet met in a road with some wine, and there was a couple of hot mic moments with Mr. Streeting saying, let them all out. You, yesterday, decided to appear on ITV's Good Morning Britain. I have my own theories about those two. You had your own hot mic moment, didn't you? Which actually is bloody brilliant. Watch this. This is brilliant.
Robert Jenrick, that is very clear. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
7:35, still to come on Good Morning Britain. If a young person in your family is about to head off travelling this summer...
Oh dear. I think it wasn't a waste of time. I think Robert Jenrick gave us very clear answers, and on the police investigation, it's not a waste of time for him to make clear that he believes there's no police investigation. So it was good he came on the programme.
And we're very grateful for his time.
Yeah, whatever. So don't start me on those two.
You see,
why did you do it if it was a waste of time, Jenrick? And did you leave your microphone up deliberately?
Well, it wasn't deliberate, but I do stand by those words. In fact, it was for a good job it wasn't something stronger than that. You know, you go on a programme, and what a farce, by the way, that you're being interviewed by Ed Balls, a former Labour cabinet minister. Half his mates, including his own wife, are sat round the cabinet table, and he's interviewing me about what's going on in British politics. And he didn't ask me a single question about reforms plans for the cost of living or the economy. When I tried to say it, they cut me off. So, look, I did think it was a bit of a waste of time, to be perfectly honest. But I do believe in going on the media.
There's no point in going on ITV. They've got no bloody viewers.
You have to
They all left after the Jeremy Kyle show finished. Listen, the hot mic thing, I just want to give you the heads up because, you know, when you leave the studio, just don't say this was crap until you're out the building, because I think there's microphones everywhere. Robert, no, seriously, I appreciate you being in and talking about what happened yesterday.
Good day.
Really appreciate it. Robert Jenrick, thank you very much indeed. Reform's Shadow Chancellor, 8:26. We're live across the UK. No voice note to the ad break. Back in 3.
Current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up. I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Interesting to have Robert Jenrick there answer the hot mic moment, and also the deleted post. Important that we hold all MPs' feet to the fire. 0344 499 1000. I'm laughing because my next guest is not in Westminster, but is happy to join us from up north. He's got his penny farthing by the side of his house. He's got his ferrets down his trousers. But there's a couple of things before we do this interview, Matt Vickers, in Stockton. I don't want to name another station, but are you happy to be talking to the disgraced television presenter Jeremy Kyle?
I'm glad you got... Well, get all the riffraff in that studio, don't you, Joseph? No, I mean, what a plonker that man is, eh? Well, but in fact, you know what? I was sat with Rob. We both did back-to-back on GB News, and I told him I was going to be interviewed by that absolute, by that person. And Rob ducked that one. Rob ducked the hard questions from that absolute plonker.
I don't want to go into too much detail about the other station, but I do want to just say this. It is always extraordinary when people have a strong opinion. If you reversed it and talked about those people, they won't have anything to do with it. I am quite happy to be known as the disgraced television presenter. I don't quite know what I am disgraceful, but that's another story. Listen, Matty, always good to have you on. How's life up north, lad?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a bit overcast today, but it's been decent weather. Even up north, it's been decent weather. I've been out there. I've been meeting the people. I've been meeting my parish councillor. I've been knocking on some doors. I've been delivering some leaflets. I've been getting my steps in, getting a bit of sunshine.
How's your mother? Is she happy you're home? Has she told you off for biting your nails during PMQs again?
She's all right. She's been fairly well behaved. Or I've been fairly well behaved. I haven't been told off yet, so we'll see.
Good man. So much to talk to you about on the Conservative round. We thank you as ever, genuinely. Andy Burnham, just as an overview, Matty, I just... Because I'm a patriot, I wanted Starmer out because I thought he was crap, and I think the bar was particularly low. People are saying, you know, this guy's better at politics. We have these 6:15 announcements, which plays perfectly into my show, doesn't it? Because at 6:15 we've had the VAT, we've had the buses. I don't know why I said it like that. And today it could be good. I don't know. Cutting business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs, and live music venues. But the thing that I wanted to ask you over the last 4 days, two opinions from me. One is, to me, the British people are far more switched on than they've ever been, and they are all asking the same question: where the bloody hell's the money coming from? The second thing is, and I'm not being disrespectful, I have not heard, and I'm sure in Stockton you get this the whole time, I have not heard Burnham or his new cabinet talk about stopping the boats, dealing with the welfare benefit budget, drilling in the North Sea, or having an inquiry into the abuse of children who are raped and there is no judicial process. I haven't heard anything about that. That's not me demeaning buses, but it's all a bit student politics, if I'm being completely honest, Matt.
Well, it's 3 days, 3 fag packets. The first one came unstuck before it had even been announced. He was going to pay using a budget that doesn't exist. He was going to pay for the basically the scrapping of VAT on energy bills by using money that apparently was being put towards digital ID. Well, it turned out from the OBR, from the former secretary, basically it didn't exist. He just completely made it up. Day 2 comes along. He's going to pay for a £2 cap on bus fares. Secretary of State for Transport goes out there to take the questions on the morning round. Couldn't answer the questions as to where this money was.
I've got to be
from.
fair, though. He has said this morning, hold on, it has been, it's important, it's been reported, don't know if it's true, that the raids, he will raid climate project funds to pay for that £2 bus thing. So, I mean, that would be a good thing.
It would be a good thing, but you can't identify a single example. That was what was asked yesterday. The Transport Secretary was asked to name a single scheme that would be impacted. She is the Secretary of State for Transport. She couldn't name one.
And she couldn't
Today, he has decided he's going to give a 20% reduction. In fact, I need to explain a little bit of that, but 20% reduction on the back of a review. Reviews don't generate money. Reviews probably spend money, if anything. It's all back of a fag packet stuff. When it comes to business rate, it's one of the most horrific things that this government's done. Business rates for leisure, hospitality and retail, all those small businesses in high streets across the country, enjoyed a 75% discount under the last government. That disappeared. Business rates have been hiked on pubs, they've been hiked on stores, on restaurants in high streets across the country. The end result, businesses going to the wall, small businesses going to the wall at the fastest rate since the world economic crash. Unemployment up 19%. People who've worked hard, who've lived out their dreams, grafted day and night to create businesses and create jobs for people, are being absolutely battered. He's come along with this pitiful 20% that's so take away 75% and give back 20%. It's ridiculous. It's appalling.
Well, it's a bit like the buses in the euphoria that was greeting him as the bus man. He lowered it from 3 to 2. It was Keir Starmer who raised it from 2 to 3. Let's have that out. Do you? I mean, I get the way that different political parties will see things. Let's talk about this. Really wound me up yesterday. I have a real issue with almost the whole of our justice system. There was the story, of course, poor Andrew Harper, PC Andrew Harper, in 2019, dragged to his death by 3 youths in a car. Something got stuck to the back of the car. His amazing and brave wife at that point, Lissy, worked really hard across party lines to get Harper's Law, which said if you actually murder a living a person in the police, you get a life sentence. Anyway, these 3 tow rags, the driver gets 16, the 2 back in the back get 13. Yesterday, highlighting Starmer's early release and its appalling impact of prisoners, it came out that 2 of those could be released. She went nuts, everybody went nuts. I want to ask you this, though. Andy Burnham, I can't say that I can change the policy completely, but I will look at it in detail before we go further forward. Surely, if you're the Prime Minister of this country, even if that's on the statute book, think British Steel and think pubs for the World Cup. If he's got an ounce of sense, he'd change that immediately, wouldn't he, Matt?
Well, I mean, we asked him last week to sit for 1 day this week and answer a few questions. He won't do it. He can't answer questions because he's got no answers to the country's problems. This is utterly infuriating. I remember meeting Lissy Harper when she first came into Parliament and was campaigning on this. Incredible, inspiring woman. A family who've been through absolute hell. They've gone in there to get justice for Andrew. They've gone in there to get justice for all those other emergency service workers who end up in this situation and make sure that it could never happen again. And now to see this government, this shambolic approach to early release and the consequences of it, it is infuriating. It makes my blood boil. This government are releasing, they've already released 60,000 prisoners early in September, vile, evil, paedophiles, rapists and people killers are going to be released early. People who've gone through absolute hell at the hands of these people are getting letters to say the court, the judgment that was given to these people, the sentences that were imposed on them are being reduced, and those people are being released early. It is utterly shambolic. It's one of the, this government's done some pretty grim things, but this is amongst the worst of them.
If the Tory party got into power and Kemi Badenoch overnight saying that Andy Burnham's policies were already unravelling and asked, is that it, in a rather scathing post, and she might well be right. Would you, one thing, do you know, I want if a member of Parliament said this or a party, I'd vote for them. If I give you 5 years, in my humble, stupid opinion, you, Matt Vickers, should do 5 years. You shouldn't do 2 years. I think it's an absolute con. I think that the whole system is saying to prisoners, I'll tell you what, don't worry about it. I know it's 10, you'll only do 3. What's the point? This doesn't work, man.
Well, I mean, they talk about prison pressure on prison places. In the last year, the government has reduced the number of prison places. There are more or less 500 less prison places than there were a year ago, and they're using that as an excuse to let people out early. We're paying more in tax. There's less teachers in our schools, less police on our streets, and less prison cells to lock up some of the most vile offenders on our street. It is a shambles. The only place money is going is into the welfare system.
Mate, thank you so much. I know you're busy and apparently you've got to go now. Can you make sure that you're off camera before you say that was a waste of time, wasn't it, with Jeremy Cowan? Bloody disgraced television. Matt Vickers, legend. Christian, don't have him on again. That was an absolute waste of time. I'm joking, Vickers, I'm joking. 22 minutes to 9 o'clock. I'm looking forward to my next interview. Oh, let's just do this voice note quickly. Scott, good morning.
Morning, Jez. Great show as always. Scott here from Birmingham, on the way to work as per. Mate, just a quick one regarding these early released prisoners. It's all right keeping them in to complete their full sentence. So if somebody gets 4 years, it's all right keeping them in 4 years, but then they're released, mate. And at that point, then, if you release them at the full term, they're released without any supervision, straight back into the community with nobody watching what they're doing. Come on, switch on, mate. We can't have them doing their full sentences and then being released into the community with no supervision of probation. That's why they do half in and half out normally, so they can be trusted. You know, you can see whether they can be trusted. There should be a supervision period attached to every sentence of dirty sex offenders. Anyway, keep it up, mate. Have a good one. Scott from Birmingham.
Right, listen, in literally a minute, the best guest I could ever have on any show. I love her. I've been reading, honestly, I've got to talk about her clothes, I've got to talk about her teeth, but most of all, I've got to talk about the fact that she always tells it like it is. Author and columnist from The Mail, Sarah Vine, is 90 seconds away on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Got to say, it's a good listen. Me old mate's on at 4 Drive. Julie here from 10, of course. Ian Collins back from being ill. Bless his heart. He's better at 1. And Kev at 4. That's your talk lineup. 20 minutes to 9 o'clock. I love this next guest. I love this woman. Not as much as my friend does, though. Sarah Vine, good morning.
Morning.
You've got an admirer. No.
I was going to appear in my pyjamas just to wind you up.
Oh, why?
Well, because, you said that people are scared to do,
Well, this is... Can I just ask you, I think it's very important. There was a story out earlier that working from home can have a detrimental effect on your mental health, and a judge has said, please don't force people to use a camera because it can cause them trauma. So are you traumatised? Are you OK?
Very traumatised. Always very traumatised, yes.
You know, when you were on, so the thing is, your column in the Mail, by the way, the best column, honestly, I love it. You're so honest, right? So 2 weeks ago, you're on the show and I thought...
Probably.
No. 2 weeks ago, you're on the show and I thought, then their Nashers are looking impressive. And I thought, I'm not going to say anything because I had mine when I went to America, obviously, because I'm as shallow as one thing. And you wrote this whole article. And then the other day when Mrs. Burnham wore that Victoria Beckham dress, apparently, whatever, you said it's very, very difficult being a woman. And there was a picture of you walking with your then husband, Michael Gove, in... what has to be described as a pretty shocking
Worst outfit ever.
Yeah,
I mean, well, much worse.
The jacket would have fitted the smallest child I've got, who's 2.
I think it might have been my daughter's jacket. I might have just got dressed in the dark.
But I loved your honesty. The response from that must be great, though, Sarah, right?
Yeah, no, I just felt... I do feel really sorry for Mrs. Burnham and all of those female politicians, because it's easy for men. You just put on a suit and a tie and that's fine, as long as you don't fall over or spill egg down the front of yourself. You kind of get away with it. But the ladies have got to you've got to find something to wear. I mean, I think maybe they should just have a uniform in the House of Parliament, a bit like school, so everyone kind of wears the same. It's just easier.
Do you remember when Sherry Blair opened the door to get the pint of milk in Downing Street? I mean, that was like...
Better. I know. It's awful. And also the other thing about it is that, as we know, sorry, that was my son leaving for work, that loud slam. As we know, it's fine if you're sort of 22 and you look amazing, but by the time you get into a position like number 10, you're not going to be in the first flush of youth. And so things just don't look the way they should.
Well, Boris turned up with his 30-year-old girlfriend, didn't he? That was quite fun. But I do agree. Sarah, there's so much to talk to you about. So much. I just wanted to do this for everybody today. We've sort of had Burnham every morning at 6:15 offering a little sweet to everybody. It's all sort of been a bit of a debacle. We started with the VAT cut, which turned out to be nothing because it's going up. And then we had the bus thing and everybody was saying, but he increased it. And then anyway, that's fine. Today he's announced he'll cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues. And listen, I'm really happy to go, that's great. And the bus thing is great. And rough sleeping is great. Although go to Manchester and he didn't succeed at all. But the point is, like me, and I'd love to know how you feel, it's all a bit small fry. I haven't heard anything about the things that matter, which are boats and welfare and net zero and drilling. And is he good at politics? Was the bar so low? Or is this man trying to gaslight us? I really don't know.
Well, I think 3 things. I think, 1, he has very little wriggle room to actually do stuff. And so these are sort of, as you say, they're sweeties. But I think what he's trying to do is set the mood music. He's trying to set the Burnham mood music and say, this is what... he's not prepared to go to Parliament and have a conversation with the parliamentary, with the MPs. So what he's doing is he's speaking directly to the public via these announcements and making sort of... setting a kind of... It's almost like he's setting a sort of tone for his government, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing he's doing is he's softening us up for something that is probably going to be a wealth tax or tax rises or something like that. And I think, that's... because I've been a politics adjacent for so long, I can see that. But I think there will be some people who will think, oh, this is great, this is fantastic, this is what we need. So I think we just have to be a little bit conscious that this is obviously a very well-planned sort of, I'd say, PR strategy. Basically.
It's really interesting, though. I mean, you talk about...
politics at the moment. It feels like PR.
Yeah, you say that, and I 2 things from that. I absolutely adhere to the fact that we need to hold his feet to the fire and explain to people on a daily basis in newspapers and on the radio and television that how is this going to be funded? Because I think the British people are more invested, and I think they're less prepared to just accept. I think they're questioning things a lot more. But just as an overview, it might have been a PR exercise. It has remarkably not gone that well. I mean, we had Darren Jones scuppering the VAT announcement within 3 seconds. We had the hot mic moment. We've had, I mean, it hasn't sort of gone well. He was asked yesterday, which we'll talk about in a sec, about early prisoner release, and he's gone, well, I can't say that I can change the policy completely, but I will look into it in detail.
Well, this is the thing about this sort of strategy, is that it's much better to just do. It would be much better for him to just stand up in front of the House, in the House of Parliament, and say, look, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to go and do. Doing it this way feels kind of disingenuous, and I think people are very savvy these days. The general public is quite politically savvy in a way that perhaps it wasn't when you and I were young.
Completely
we sort of trusted politicians. Now people don't trust politicians. They can see the tactics. They can see what's going on, and I think it is backfiring on him, because I think it feels like he's trying to manipulate, and nobody likes politicians who try to manipulate.
And also, maybe I am. David Maddox from The Independent said, I think you're being unfair, Jess, but I can't get, because I'm a patriot, so I want my country to be better. I think the bar was so low with Starmer. It just strikes me, Sarah, as almost student politics a bit, the first 4 days.
It does feel quite sort of sixth form politics. And also, I think the fact that he really hasn't got a mandate, and he really wasn't elected in a very fair way, is part of the problem. And I think that's maybe why he's a bit avoidant to kind of actually engage politically, because of course the second you put Andy Burnham in front of someone like Andrew Neil or you, or anyone who's a trained journalist who knows how to ask questions, we're going to see what's really there. He's been interviewed by Gary Lineker, who then said, "Oh, I love him so much, I'm going to give him some of my money." I mean, it's obviously that's obviously a sort of chumocracy, which is what the Tories are always being accused of. But he's got a sort of raft of celebrities who obviously like him for whatever reason, probably because they think he might crack down a bit on the press. But I think that just feels really. I don't know, it just feels really cliquey. It doesn't feel like it
feels to me, I love your phrase chumocracy, because if you look back and from the years that you've done this and I've done this has to be seen as true. If you look back, the most successful leaders, A, had a plan, B, had a pair big enough to say, if you disagree with me, I'm firing your ass, and C, were quite prepared to front it up and see it out and believe in their own abilities. Those were conviction politicians. Blair at the start was a conviction politician. Thatcher was a conviction politician. It's all a bit, if I do that, then that'll get that response, and that focus group will tell me. And nothing from here, Sarah.
No, it's about having a vision, and it's about a visceral form of politics, which means, it comes from the heart. And it's about also having the answers when people ask you difficult questions. That's really important if you're in politics, because people will ask you difficult questions and they will point out the contradictions in your policies and your ideas, and you have to have an answer for that. Whereas he will not answer any questions, and until he does, I find it very hard to take all this stuff seriously, because it just feels like fluff. Go, do some proper interviews, put your policies forward, be scrutinised in the House, do all of those things. You can't just, take on this job and then essentially sort of hide behind, the fact that we're on recess or whatever. You just can't. You've got to really, and it just strikes me as a little bit, dare I say it, cowardly. It's a bit like, I don't actually want to have to go and justify myself to the head teacher because I haven't done my homework.
But you should have done your homework. You've been planning this for a goddamn year. I mean, there's that rumour, isn't there, that his team thought it would be. It's the only thing I support Starmer on, actually. I think his team, Burnham's team, thought it would be September and they'd have the summer, and Starmer went, no, up yours, you've got rid of me, I'm off to the pub, which I don't blame him, to be honest, do you?
Yeah. No, I don't blame him at all. I mean, why? They say that the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I think that Keir Starmer had got to the end of that road. And I in the interview with Lineker, he said something about, I think, people with more money are going to have to stump. I mean, he's so vague about, but the real question here is, essentially, we have too much welfare. We spend too much taxpayers' money on giving it to people who don't work, who for whatever reason. The welfare bill is too big. The way to get this country moving again is not to tax people more so that they spend less and go out less and do fewer of the things that they want to do and feel disgruntled and tired and exhausted. It's to let them spend more of their own money the way they want to, because that is what's going to restart the economy. And instead, it doesn't feel like that's the way we're going. And you know, it's all very well for Lineker to say, oh, you know, I'm really happy to pay a little bit of extra tax. Well, you're a very rich man. The thing that if he does bring in tax rises, it won't really affect the super rich like Lineker, because they're super rich and they've got really good accountants and, you know, they've got everything sorted and it's all done for them. It'll affect people who are, you know, working really hard and perhaps doing quite well in life, but not, you know, not multi-millionaires. That's who it's going to...
I worry is that, you know, the Gary Lineker thing, two things about it. This is the letter he and 120 other British millionaires tell the new Prime Minister they want to pay more tax. Well, you can go to the tax office and pay more tax voluntarily, Gaz. The other thing is that if you try and if you try and have the opposite view, which I absolutely do, it's not about tax. People who are successful pay 50% and 9%, so they get 41p in the pound, right? So I would say that they're paying more, and justifiably so. But at what point are you... nobody ever tells this side, which is how many thousands of multi-millionaires have left this country because of the last two governments, and with it taken hundreds of millions of pounds of revenue that the tax man, in a sense, the exchequer would get. Nobody ever says that, Sarah.
No, and you're completely right. And it's not just tax revenue; it's spend.
Yeah.
You know, it's the builders who get to do up their houses. It's the sort of, you know, the dog walkers who walk their little pooches. You know, it's the kind of economy that sort of wealth brings, which is so important for ordinary people. And it's, you know, it's going to the restaurant, going to the cafe, it's all this kind of stuff. And I think that you know, you're basically cutting off your nose to spite your face when you drive those people away. And yes, you may find them obnoxious and you may find it irritating that they live this, but the truth is they're part of a financial ecosystem, you know, and if you take them out, then there's an imbalance, I'm afraid, because this is the world that we live in. You can't impose a sort of socialist utopia in the context of the world the way it is. It just doesn't work. You know, we've seen this. Venezuela. I mean,
Yes, Venezuela, yes, doesn't work. You do know, don't you, that this is you are my favourite person to speak to all week, and so I'm slightly reticent, because, of course, you announced at the beginning that you knew that story about the judge who said putting somebody on camera is indeed, it could cause anxiety, but you're cool with that. Something happened yesterday with Lucy Powell, the new education secretary. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
Lucy Powell tweeted, you see the, she tweeted, which was then... She put, absolutely thrilled, the be a point education secretary. So the Conservative Party marked this and said, wrong, improve your grammar, 3 out of 10, see me after class. I mean, that's the head of the Education Service who had said that spelling tests was draconian. So I did say that I thought that everybody that came on today should actually be able to spell a word, but I'm so scared of upsetting you. So do you...
I mean, I'm actually terrible. I'm really bad at spelling words because I'm a bit dyslexic, but I'll try.
Oh, God, just... Oh, no. Just spell... what did you say?
Is it liaison? That's the one that everyone always asks.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you conscientious.
Oh, yes. Conscientious. CONSCIONTIOUSS.
Sarah, that's why I'm dribbling. I was actually quite nervous about asking you. Fantastic.
Did you see I had to write it out with my finger because I'm a bit...
Bless you. Listen, when's the next brilliant column out in the Mail? Because I literally have become addicted to it. I want to know what's going to... Monday.
Sunday.
Brilliant. And thank you. Really great to have you on. We love it so much. Thank you so
very
much. Have a great day. Take care. Sarah Vine, author and columnist, Daily Mail. We love her. At 5 to 9, we're live across the UK. Push the button, Marky.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Quick look at the sport. Let's say a very good morning to Martin Blackburn from the legendary... How are you, me old son?
Yeah, very well, Jeremy. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm just a little bit confused. Morgan Rogers, 117 million to Chelsea. Where's he going to play?
Well, yeah, good question. It does seem like a lot of money, doesn't it? But I mean, Chelsea have had a habit of spending money recently. I think everybody's a little bit surprised by that, by the size of that fee, Jeremy. Although the news this morning that Garnacho might be going the other way perhaps mitigates it slightly.
Garnacho is not worth 40 million quid. He's been a flop everywhere he's gone. What's that all about?
Well, I mean, when he started out at Man United, Jeremy, people would probably have thought that he was going to be a 40 million player, but he has, his star slipped dramatically, hasn't it, in recent years? And yeah, I mean, 40 million seems quite high at the moment. He really needs to get his career back on track and improve his attitude, doesn't he?
There's lots of money being floated about, lots of, transfer business being talked about. I think on the back page today, Prime by COP looked to wrap up a Bradley Barcola deal, 100 million. Where are they getting all this money from? I thought there were tight controls.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of what's going on in the background there, Jeremy, is that Jeff Bezos of Amazon, who's worth 200 billion, is possibly going to be invested in Liverpool. I mean, he's got almost as much money as you, Jeremy, that guy. So if he's going to be sort of chipping in, I think
that's an absolutely disgraceful jibe at me, and I think I might have to sue you. Do you know that man earns £14,000 a minute or something, doesn't he? Isn't it something? It's just something ridiculous.
Something like that, yeah.
Mate, can I also just very quickly? We've only got a minute. Pep Guardiola talking to Italy. Am I missing the point? Should not the FA open their checkbook, get on a plane, and get Pep Guardiola at all bloody costs, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, if they let him go to Italy, I think that would possibly be remiss of them, because he does love living in England, Jeremy. I work in Manchester. I've covered him for the last 10 years. I know how attached he is to England. So, at some point, I think that is a real possibility that he could be interested in the England job. But if we let him go to Italy now, then when would the chance come again? He's free at the moment.
And also, very quickly, I can't be too late, but you're in Manchester. There's a story this morning that a judge has said that working from home with the camera on can cause people anxiety. I hope we haven't caused any anxiety that you've had to put your face on the telly this morning, bud.
Yeah, I'll need to go and have a lie down, I think, Jeremy.
Good man.
Just to recover from it.
Great stuff, always in Sunsport. Martin Blackburn, thank you very much indeed. It's all there each and every day, almost 9 o'clock. Isabel Oakeshott next after the news at 9 on Talk.
Breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in, as to all the people.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Morning, welcome along or welcome back. If you haven't been here, where have you been? Just gone 9, we're live across the UK. You're very welcome. It's Talk, of course, the home of common sense. This is the platform on which people can come and have their say. Their views on the day's news are always welcome. On breakfast, as ever, get hold of us. Tommy's here. Can I tell them what you did yesterday, Tommy? Tommy, right, is this sort of extraordinary creature who fills me with complete and utter... I'm like in wonder. So he comes in this morning looking as fresh as a daisy, right? So what are you up to yesterday? He said, I went to the south of France for the day. Sorry? I went to the south of France the day to a museum. You went to the south of France yesterday, to a museum. Yes, on a private jet, had a nice time there. Unbelievable. Must have... it wasn't a private jet, it was a nice plane. But he did all of that in one day and still looks as fresh as a daisy. He's also into flowers big time. If you want daisies, we can do a deal. 0344 419 1000 is the Queen gave him a dirty look then. Queen Nehar looks at him slightly worryingly. No, she's shaking her head. 0344 419 1000, text to 87222. In the next hour, Isabel Oakeshott will be here very soon. We've got Roy Ram, former Metropolitan Police officer as well. Andy Burnham has sort of littered the first few days in power with his little announcement, described brilliantly, I thought, by Sarah Viner, sort of little sweeteners. No mention of the things that really matter, like stopping the boats or dealing with the welfare or drilling in the North Sea. Today announced he'll cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues. All very admirable, but the British people, you see, Mr B, have woken up and they're all texting me going, how are you going to pay for it then? Because most people, I suspect, think that you are in essence sweetening us up or getting to a position where you're going to drop a tax increase or a wealth tax, whatever it is. Wayne, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. It's Wayne from Erdington in Birmingham, mates. Got myself a busy day ahead of me. I'm going to go out and blow me 86 pence. I'm going to go bananas today. Take it easy, geezer. Have a good day.
Take it easy, geezer. Wayne from Erdington, Jezza. That was those old days at BRMB. So, yeah. Your thoughts on Andy Burnham? Maybe I'm being unfair. Today, the bus cap yesterday of £2. He said he's going to fund it by attacking climate project funds. Great, if that's true, but I can't get away from the fact that he hasn't mentioned the things that seemingly matter. Also yesterday, a huge, huge story, the dreadful Labour policy of early release of prisoners. Just do 30% of your thing. Yeah, if you're a paedophile or a rapist, we'll let you out. Just get out, because we need the space. Why don't you, A, Burnham, right, build more prisons so that people serve the bloody sentence they're given, and B and 2, this would be a good idea, why don't you deport the 10,000 foreign criminals in your prisons to give us a bit of space? That'd be a good idea. That's the story, as is Gary Lineker and his 120 mates. All millionaires who want to pay more tax. Like I said, just go down the office. We'll also talk about... a judge has said that coming on camera when working from home can be very anxious and people shouldn't demand it. So my next guest, I obviously have to start and hope that she is feeling OK. Isabel Oakeshott, are you feeling anxious this morning?
Absolutely not. I'm always feeling super enthusiastic to see you in the morning and talk to our alarm clock Brits who are just getting more and more nervous, I think, about what is coming next to wallop us all. I mean, I'm reading about this death tax that Andy Burnham is supposedly considering. I actually remember reporting on this in a lot of detail at the time when he first came up with it, which is about 15 years ago. I was quite involved in the coverage then. And I mean, it was a disaster because they basically had to drop it because all the polling showed that it could potentially cost Labour the election that followed. And I think it is a very serious problem, of course, about funding care for the elderly, and I more than understand Andy Burnham's passion about this. I really believe that something does need to be done to find a better solution, but I don't think the solution is charging another levy on people's estates. You know, inheritance tax is already way too high and utterly hated by people.
Do you know what does my head in, which I so agree with you, and I'm so grateful for you bringing this point up. Whenever we talk about inheritance tax or death duties or anything, there's always the assumption that the person's worth millions. I want to tell you a story quickly about, this was years and years and years ago. I went out with a girl and we went to Cornwall to visit her grandmother who lived in Perranporth and had brought her kids up. Husband had died young. She didn't put the heating on, she put on an extra jumper. She was proper old school. And she'd bought her house, OK? And it was, I don't know, Isabel, 250 grand? And yet when she became too ill to look after herself, the house was sold and the funds were used from that house to pay for her care weekly. She lasted 11 years, I think, and the last 2 years she went into, stayed in the same place and the government picked up the bill. And I remember her son, my then girlfriend's father, saying to me, I didn't want her money, but she would be devastated that she did everything right all of her life, paid all of her taxes, saved, and we did nothing. And my answer to it is really simple. I think that the elder generation don't get what we should give them. Thinking about it, it's so important. But we'll give money to migrants, and that's not an unfair comment. We'll give money to people on benefits who are absolutely gaming the system. We'll give foreign aid budget. We'll wipe the arse of other countries, and yet we won't look after our own. I think it's outrageous. What did we hear from? What was it? 11 billion the other day for foreign aid still under Starmer. We should look after the LD. 1,000,000%, Isabel. Completely agree with you.
So what that shows is, I mean, the money does exist. It's just a question of what Andy Burnham has previously described, which is reprioritising. It's about where you are devoting that money. And everybody knows that we're spending literally billions accommodating whatever setting it may be, whether it's hotels, whether it's some kind of other facility, accommodating some real asylum seekers and an awful lot of economic opportunists, more coming over. Within the last couple of days, 100 more came over by boat, each one of those with a massive price tag attached to them. So that's one huge saving if we just stop that now, today. Another saving would be if we deported lots of people who shouldn't be here. And as you say, massive savings to be made in overpayment of welfare to people that don't need it, not to people that do need it. And actually, you could hive off a whole chunk of the welfare budget for care for the elderly. And I think it's such an important cause. And Andy Burnham is really onto something here. And it could be a genuinely amazing legacy if he cracked this problem, but not by imposing yet more taxes on, not just on ordinary people, but people all the way through the economic strata. I think he's suggesting a kind of, well, in the past, he was suggesting a kind of blanket tax. It's not means tested.
And I think that's the point, right? And the reason that we didn't know we were going to talk about this. I'm passionate about looking after the LD. I hate the fact that this country just consigns them to care homes and ignores them. I was lucky enough to spend every last day of the last 2 years with my dad because I wasn't working, and it was absolutely enlightening to me. The staff, the whole goddamn thing, how you treated and everything. And I would fight for that. But Burnham has been given this opportunity. And the frustration for me just 4 days in is whether it's a PR exercise to give little sweeteners to lay the ground for a general election or not. I'm sure there are issues close to Andy Burnham's heart that matter. Then have the balls with the political capital you have got in your hand right now to stand up in front of your 400 MPs, prove you're a conviction politician, go, do you know what, it might not be popular, but if you want to keep your jobs, I am going to knock 50 million off the welfare bill because I'm going to be the first Prime Minister from Labour that stands up and says people are playing the system, and the elderly and the really needy, the really mentally ill, the really disabled people are missing out. I think that would be game-changing, but sadly we know that within the confines of the Labour Party, because it'll upset Peter and he won't do that. And that's what I want in a politician, Isabel. I want somebody who doesn't care if they're criticised or they upset somebody in making a decision that ultimately is probably for the best.
I think that millions of people would really appreciate that. You know, just say, look, you know, these are the realities, folks. I think that the situation that so many of our older people find themselves in is completely unacceptable. You know, government after government after government has failed to tackle this problem, to find a solution. There are plenty of other countries that have models of how to do this better than our own, and just say, look, we're going to have to find a way to pay for it. And I am not, Andy Burnham might say, I am not going to impose yet more taxes on people's estates, what little they're able to leave their loved ones after the government's had yet another go at it, you know, not only all the way through their lives, but when they die. I feel really strongly about this. My parents were lucky enough not to have to go into care homes. We spent a lot towards the end of my mum's life on nurses coming in, and you know that was difficult, but we were lucky in the sense she didn't have a long decline. But I really feel for people whose elderly parents last, you know, a very, very long time and need a lot of help that they don't get courtesy of the taxpayer. It's financially ruinous.
And when people say, "Oh, the taxpayer," this is me speaking. I didn't know we were going to... I'm so glad we're talking about this. This is me speaking, right? So the old man, I mean, he loved being in care because COVID was great for him because, as he said, they can't get away from me, the women. They've locked the doors, Jez. It's brilliant. But the truth is, he spent the entire value of their house in 4 or 5 years living the life of Riley. Bloody good luck to him. But there are millions of people who can't afford to do that. And my view is this, if people are going to jump up and down and go, oh, where's that money coming from? I think if you've paid in, I think if you've grafted and you've done everything right, I think at that moment society should help you. Like I think if you are genuinely disabled or mentally ill, I'm really happy. But until we actually face up, which I have to say Reform do, and the Tories have started, but if they stand up and go, people are taking the out of the work benefit system, and instead of everybody going, you'll be upsetting people who are... No, they're taking the mickey and genuine people are missing out. There is money that could be taken from that 332 billion to look after old people who have worked hard all their lives, 100%. There's so much I want to talk to you about. I know we haven't got much time. We'll do it very quickly. The horrible story yesterday, PC Andrew Harper, of course, murdered in 2019. His incredible widow overnight calling, and I quote, it is deplorable that freeing prisoners early is acceptable to this government. This was something instigated by Lammy. I know Reform have called for the deportation of foreign prisoners and building more prisons, which would seem to make sense. The Prime Minister, another opportunity. This is what he said. I can't say that I can change the policy completely, but I will look into it before we go forward. Why can't he change it immediately, Isabel? He can.
That's just so weak, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're the Prime Minister. Of course you can change it. You can set out a really robust, really clear sense of direction here. You can say, instead of saying, I'll look into it, you can say, here's my point of principle. My point of principle is that in this country, we have got to stop sending out the message that if you commit crimes, oh, well, you might do a little bit of the sentence that you're given, and then you'll just be let out again, even if that crime involves being party to the most horrific death of one of our serving police officers. We've got to stop sending out that message. You know, the lawlessness in Britain now is genuinely, it's shocking, and it's the small stuff as well as the big stuff. So I know we're going to now do this on Monday, but just the streets of Manchester.
Let me for people who are just tuning in, because I've been talking about this all morning. This lady, although on holiday, has put together an incredible piece of work. We have heard about Messiah Burnham from Manchester. We've heard how Manchester is the epicentre of everything that's good. Now, I've some personal experience because I spent 15 years living in Manchester, not for the last 7, but it's interesting, when I was there, Piccadilly Gardens was impressive to a degree, and we've heard people come on the show, Isabel, and say, Piccadilly Gardens is crackadilly. So you thought, brilliantly, you'd put an undercover reporter there for a couple of hours. We're going to play a lot of this on Monday when it's all properly checked and done. Just give us a little tease if you can.
Well, this was Christian Drogan, who was the undercover migrant. Some people may remember. He's actually from that area, and he gets a lot better stuff than I would because he blends in brilliantly. He spent just 2 hours in so-called Piccadilly in the centre of Manchester. This was on a Tuesday night, so it's not even a Friday night or a Saturday night. In the space of 2 hours, he was offered drugs on at least 4 occasions. He saw massive rats everywhere, tented accommodation, so Andy Burnham's homelessness thing, not really, rough sleeping thing, not really working well there. And to me, the most shocking of all was the girl fight that he broke up. So he came across the most horrific physical fight between two girls. They were on the pavement, screaming, pulling at each other's hair, hitting their heads on the pavement. And around them was a bunch of people doing absolutely nothing. The footage is shocking. And you can hear, and we'll show, I'm sure, some of it on Monday, you can hear Christian being the only person that is brave enough to say, stop it, stop it. And there's a lot, I'm afraid there'll be a lot of bleeping.
Yeah, he doesn't say stop it. He goes, stop it. It's brilliant. I've seen some of it. It's a testament to him and to you, but it is interesting, isn't it? Under the guise of 400 Labour MPs who think that Andy Burnham is, you know, can walk on water, it is also, if we're good journalists, and you are one of the best, is to do what we should do and go and look at the model by which apparently we're all going to be judged on or created in the image of. And Manchester, and I've every right to say that because I used to live there, is not the bloody utopia that he would want you to think, is it?
It isn't, and in the interest of fairness, you know, we did go to other bits of Manchester where Andy Burnham has made improvements. But the reality is that he has presided over a city in which branches of Tesco have to have screens, glass screens. Basically, the Tesco staff, the till staff, are operating in cages because they are threatened with knives, they are spat at, and it is a dangerous place to be. Well, if that is the template for Britain under Andy Burnham, I'm really pessimistic. He's failed to sort out his own backyard.
It's really interesting stuff. We will play that stuff on Monday. That is a guarantee. Now, to finish, Isabel, this is a light-hearted finish, but I would never, because I'm a little bit scared of you, but love the bones of you. Do you know the story about Lucy Powell today?
Which one? Is this the spelling thing, or what is it?
Yeah. So on the screen there, she did a tweet saying how delighted she was to be the new Education Secretary. Actually, she put, absolutely thrilled be the appoint Education Secretary, to which the Tories jumped on and went, wrong, improve your grammar, 3 out of 10, see us after class. The Labour Party then jumped back at, I think, Mel Stride and said he spelt Labour and Britain wrong, which wasn't gate. So I've sort of been saying all morning, and everybody's taken up the challenge, that I have to throw a word at you and I need you to spell it. And if you get it wrong, are you any good at spelling? You can you've done such great work for me, you can turn down the opportunity. But Sarah Vine did it. I mean, everybody's done.
I'm my paper here now. Right, what is it? Come on. Which one?
Christian, tell me which one we're giving her. 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. Manoeuvre.
Oh, OK, I can do that.
Can you? Where's Tice is in the background?
Manoeuvre.
Oh, what a journalist! What a straight in there.
Because it's French. It's like manoeuvre. It's like I can remember that because there's a French element to it. Do you know the story I think you should be talking about if you want light relief today? And you may already have been doing it. Parrotgate. Are you on top of this? Stella Creasy and the parrot.
What?
Oh my God! This nearly broke the internet last night.
Right, you're sacked, Christian. Parrotgate. What a load of crap my team are. Tell me about Parrotgate.
This is too good. So Stella Creasy, you know, like literally the most annoying MP, and there's quite a lot of competition from that. So Stella Creasy, Labour MP for Walthamstow, nearly broke the internet last night by putting out a tweet about what she thought was a lost parrot up in a tree somewhere in a park in North London. And it's a typically earnest, you know, I want to reunite this poor parrot with its owner. Well, unfortunately for Ms. Creasy, it is just, in fact, a fat parakeet, of which there are an awful lot in London. Now, instead of accepting that she just got this wrong, she put out a whole other thing complaining that people were taking the mickey out of her for not knowing the difference between a parrot and a parakeet. And so the internet last night was full of memes of lost pets stuck up trees, and Stella Creasy putting out heartfelt pleas to reunite some teddy bear that she's seen in a tree.
No mention of the boats, just looking for a parrot. What is the difference between a parrot and a parakeet, Isabel?
Honestly, I think that parrots are a bit more colourful. I don't know, I'm not a bird expert. I have to defend poor old Stella Creasy on this, but she's just so earnest. You've got to look at the tweets.
So worthy. Let's talk about the boats. Nobody's written this, so it's particularly crap. But did Stella Creasy put out a tweet or a squawk?
I think she was in too much of a flap to do anything.
Oh, you're great. Thank you. And by the way, really, look, we'll get you on Monday. It is fantastic, this footage. There's Stella Creasy, is it? Look at the size of that parakeet. Love it. We'll get some comment. Isabel, thank you. Enjoy the weekend. Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor, has done such great work. We'll play that stuff. What Manchester Piccadilly really looks like, live and exclusive on Breakfast on Monday. James, good morning.
Morning, Jez. James from Liverpool here. Yes, another day, another Burnham gimmick as ever. Yesterday it was on the buses Burnham. Today it's on the rave Burnham. Yes, save the clubs, save the pubs. We all know where the money's coming from. It's going to come from Middle England. Yes, the 5 o'clock alarm people will pay for everything. All the benefits, all the disability cars, you name it. Alarm Clock Britain will foot the bill. These guys are clueless. I think you're right about getting second election. This is the highest his ratings are going to be. Once it gets to putting taxes up, he knows it's going to plummet. So I think he is getting ready to go to the country.
conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know, I honestly wish that you could have a camera or a microphone. You think Robert Jenrick saying that was a waste of time? We would be off air. Christian Mitchell, extraordinary. I mean, it's bad enough having the G-spot, Damon on there, he just kicks through, but that's an extraordinary thing. Welcome back to Talk Breakfast, 26 minutes past 9. We're live across the United Kingdom. Morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Jeremy. Debbie here from Cornwall. The one thing that is really alarming, overwhelmingly, is immigration in this country, illegal immigration. Standard immigration. The country is full. We've all had enough. We're fed up being abused and lied to. And yet the one thing that I have not heard Andy Burnham talk about, not one little slip of the tongue, is what he and his party are going to do about immigration.
And I think that we were talking in the ad break and saying, you know, a lot of people in this country who aren't invested in talking about politics would perhaps not watch a talk or other stations likewise will maybe just hear buses are down to £2. We're going to do a business rate tax on certain businesses for the nighttime economy. We're going to cut your VAT, and they'll go, this guy's great. And there could well be the argument that says that because he's not Keir Starmer, could he do the same in the countries he did in Makerfield? There are enough people that will be going, thank God it's not Starmer, let's get him for 5 years. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's planning a general election. Your thoughts would be most welcome. 03440. We have found one person who is super happy with the business rate cut on live music venues. Pause. What? Oh, jeez. It's Angela Rayner. She's dancing. Look, that's brilliant. Look at her. If you're not watching on YouTube... Oh, dear, that was wrong. Yes, Angela Rayner. What was it? Has she gone to Ethiopia again? That'd be fun, wouldn't it? 0344 499 1000. So much to still talk about. Let's say a very good morning to the former Metropolitan Police Officer, Roy Ram, on breakfast. Roy, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy.
I wanted to get you on because there's been a lot in the news about Burnham in the last 4 days, but what really, really, really blew up yesterday was this story about poor PC Andrew Harper. In 2019, he died, Roy, as you well know, trying to deal with a burglary of I think a quad bike. Yeah. Peter Blexley was telling me earlier, I didn't know this, that he'd finished his shift and was back at the station getting ready to go off on his honeymoon, but he went back out showing amazing dedication. He was killed in action. His widow, Lissy, who's an incredible woman, set about creating a law called Harper's Law, which basically said that if you were responsible for the death of a serving policeman or woman, it would be an automatic life sentence. Yesterday, this deeply flawed, I think, fundamentally wrong policy of Labour to release prisoners to create space for more serious criminals. And bearing in mind, we're talking about paedophiles, sex offenders being released early. It sort of was encapsulated by the fact that 2 of the 3 that killed Andrew Harper were going to be allowed out after 6 years of a 13-year sentence. So I want to know from a police point of view, because his widow went nuts and called it deplorable, which I think the entire country agrees with. As a police officer, when you work really hard to find culprits and to find people who are responsible, you go through all of that, and then you're told that the government will let them out, what, in a minute, 33 1/3% into their sentence. What the hell does that do for your morale?
Yeah, look, I'd like to split this into 2 here. I think that let's just deal with Andrew Harper and when people like him, police officers, are attacked or killed in the line of duty. I think that there is a social compact between the public and the police, which says that we, the public, expect police officers to run towards danger, to be courageous on our behalf and to act in defence of us, to uphold the law. And I think in return, the other side of that compact ought to be that justice is absolutely firm in dealing with the people that commit these crimes and assault or kill police officers. It is absolutely an obscenity, in my view, that these people should be released early from prison in any sense. Never mind about reducing it from 40% to 50%, increasing their mitigation of their sentence from 40 to 50%. They are sentenced and they should serve the full sentence.
Talking of which, Roy, I'm so glad we've got you on. I completely agree with you. I've gone on all day, all week, all month, and for 4 years, that if you get given 5 years, in my humble opinion, you should serve 5 bloody years, otherwise it makes a mockery. And I know all about the good behaviour and all that. Well, you can earn treats. But here's the thing. Why did they only get 13 years when they killed a serving police officer, for God's sake?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the sentencing was weak in the first place, and I think that the campaign by PC Harper's wife has been extraordinary. I mean, lucky have we been to have such an articulate and powerful young woman, so well motivated to do what she's done. Unfortunately, the law's not retrospective, so she's protecting future police officers, on the death of her husband, which is amazing.
And yet yesterday, of course, she felt so cheated. She talked about how when she set about channeling her grief into creating Harper's Law in memory of her late husband, Andrew, that she was supported on all sides of the House. In fact, we had Matt Vickers on here earlier. Let me read this out, because this is so powerful from Lissy Harper, MB. It's taken me years to rebuild a life that was torn apart in a matter of moments. Years to pick up the pieces left behind by three men whose actions robbed Andrew of his life and stole our future. Now, once again, politicians are making decisions from behind a desk that will have real and lasting consequences for victims' families like mine. It is deplorable to me that we've reached a point where releasing prisoners early is even considered acceptable. We speak of justice in this country, accountability and standing with victims, yet decisions like this, Roy, do the complete opposite. She's dead right. Absolutely dead right.
Unarguably, and such a powerful statement. And I think, you know, when victims go to court and they sit there and victims go to court and they give their evidence and they are subject to cross-examination, the whole trauma of the criminal justice system, and then, you know, a judge passes a sentence, there's some degree of relief about that, and, you know, they leave court only to find out that months, maybe years later, that the person that they have been courageous to help prosecute, is being released early. It's an absolute betrayal. And, you know, you're left wondering who it is within the criminal justice system, whether it's ministers or civil servants, that even come up with this kind of idea.
It's so, to me, it's so apologist, it's so weak and lily-livered. It's really simple to me. Not only should we should, and I'm not trying to sound like I believe this. The way you create space is twofold in prisons. You build more prisons by spending less on foreign aid. Sorry, we have concerns in this country right now. You don't just have debates, you send back foreign prisoners. And you say to the judiciary, here's the format, this is what people are going to do, and they're going to serve the whole time. Because I'm pretty bloody sure that if you said to somebody, carrying a knife, you're getting 5 years, that's the way it is. There has to be a deterrent, and the deterrent is not going to be, oh, you can serve 30% of your crime, and we'll give you a television, and you can play that. No. Crime, punishment, deal with it. You know, like, cross the boundary, there are the consequences. We've become soft. They need to give more support to prison officers. The whole probation thing, it is such an issue. And what have we got? A variety of justice secretaries, the new one, Alex Norris. Let's just let them out. No. Look, I mean, look at that piece of crap walking out of prison on. Look at him. He's got his brand new tracksuit. He's probably mugged. I don't know what he's done wrong, but look at him. He's fine. And I wonder how many I can't have it, Roy. It makes a mockery of what I was brought up to believe in, the difference between right and wrong.
I said at the start, I'd like to split this out into two, and I think that we've said quite a lot about Andrew Harper, but let's think about all those police officers and their families who are out there today, and indeed the chief officers who are trying to recruit young people to join the police service. How are they going to feel unless they believe that the justice system values them and stands behind them? And I think this is absolutely deplorable.
Andy Burnham, our new Prime Minister, day 4, he says, because there was a natural fallout. This policy, of course, of early prisoner release was instigated by Calamity Lammy. He's no longer in the government. And for me, abhorrent. So, first of all, once this was reported, it caused obviously people to try and get an answer from our Prime Minister, because he'd only spoken to Gary Lineker to that point. He said last night to the press, I cannot say that I can change the policy completely. But I will look at it in detail before we go further forward. See, this is what I don't understand about politicians. You've got a 150-plus seat majority. You are recently installed and you've got the goodwill of all your party. You can open bars, right? You can open bars for people to drink during the World Cup, and you can bring Parliament back for British Steel within 24 hours. Drop this dreaded piece of policy. Do it straight away, man. How is that difficult?
Well, you know, you're going to get no argument from me, because I think if we saw Andy Burnham in Downing Street, and the first thing he says, I'm going to stop rough sleeping. Well, yeah, fine. Yeah, a nice thing to do.
We tried that in Manchester, it didn't work, mate.
Well, is it really the most important thing on the public's agenda? Isn't releasing rapists and killers and vile criminals onto the streets early slightly more important?
Couldn't agree, and I don't. This is what I don't get, Roy. This is why this station works, because people all across this land who work for a living are looking at the radio now, going, "What's this common sense? Why would you release a paedophile or somebody that's attacked somebody sexually to wander around so that you can tick a box and go, oh, I've got more prison spaces? No, build more prisons. £11 billion in foreign aid agreed in Starmer's last few hours as Prime Minister. How many prisons could you build for £11 billion? Couple, I suspect. You know, what about our defences? It's about... People always say, we haven't got the money. But they always find the money, don't they? They find 45 billion to give to the Mauritians along with Chagos. It's about priorities, Roy.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think a lot of people are really concerned about the level of policing, the quality of justice, how long it takes to get into court. You know, someone's arrested and they're not in court for 2 years, maybe. You know, cases fall apart in that time. There needs to be a proper investment in our criminal justice system that gives people confidence that they need to have in living in this country.
Gives them confidence to live in this country and sends a message to criminals that you're not going to get an easy ride. You're not going to get out in 5 minutes. We're not going to make excuses for you as against the poor victim. Can I ask you a weird question? If we go back however many years, because I wouldn't judge how old you are, would you do it all again or what you know? Would you try and be a policeman with what's happening right now or not?
Do you know, I ask myself that question quite a lot. I thoroughly enjoy my police service. I had a great career and really enjoyed it. But I look at it now, and I'm not sure that I would be saying to my grandchildren, "Hey, look, you know, when you get old enough, why don't you become a police officer?" I can't see the support for it that was there when I joined, and I think that's a great shame.
Mate, it's always great to have you on. We so appreciate it. Thank you for your time this morning. Roy Ram, former Metropolitan Police Officer. Always good to have him on the show. 20 tonight. I'm going to read some texts. We've got so many to do. The Tories mocking Lucy Powell's grammar with that dreaded red pen normalises the shaming of dyslexic people. What they face at school and work. Focus on our actual policies, says Dave in Lowestoft. My daughter Ava, heavily dyslexic. Hey all, great show. This will get someone. Spelled discotheque, says Dave in London. No idea. Helen in Yorkshire, prisoners should serve their full sentences as punishment and then start rehabilitation. Anything less is an insult to victims. If Burnham was serious, says Susie, about people's purses, he would scrap the TV licence fee. James says, I'm working class and since Labour came to power, my income is down 10 grand per year because 3 of my clients have buggered off to Dubai. Let the prisoners out, says Mark Gardner, and put them under house arrest. Don't use electronic tags. Use a ball and chain so they can't leave the house. Great. Millennium, says Graham in Birmingham. Yes, that reminds me. I don't know why I do this, and certain presenters on this station will always. The Millennium and Birmingham, this is absolutely true. They said to me, I was there on BR&B, we want you to front the celebrations in Centenary Square. There'll be 30,000 people as we count down from 1999 to 2000. Quite excited, quite a big gig at that point, 38. Toyah, Wizard and Cliff Richard to set fire to the flame of hope. You'll have seen it on the television. An argument ensued because we were all supposed to change on a bus. Wizard locked himself in Cliff Richard's dressing. I mean, on a complete nightmare. Toyah was great-ish. Anyway, eventually I found myself on stage, and I hadn't been on the BBC, and I've got one earpiece from ITV going, and one from the BBC saying, we're coming to you, coming to you. And the whole point was, as it approached midnight, they'd flash across the country to 15 different venues, and at that moment, you'd light your flame, cheer, and, you know, 1990, all that sort of thing. Cliff Richard is backstage. He's got 3 people saying, are you warm enough? He's got a blanket on his shoulders. I'm not joking. You're going to be all right, Cliff. I'm fucking freezing out here. I've been here since Christmas, right? And this is absolutely true. At 2 minutes to all on television, Cliff Richard and I walk down to the Flame of Hope, and the BBC man in my ear says, 10, 9, 8, 7, stand by, UK, and light the flames. And Cliff Richard lit the flame in Birmingham Centenary Square, and a gust of wind blew the bloody thing straight out. Just as the BBC cut to me, I'm stood there going, no, I'm. That was my only time on the BBC. 20 to 10.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. So much to talk about. That was my little Cliff Richard story. We should have played Wind Beneath My Wings, says Mark, which is right. We'll get Ross Clark on in a tick. Today's columnist for The Sun. But that story Isabel mentioned, is she so right? This has gone absolutely bleeding viral. And honestly, Christian, I don't want you to judge yourself, but you could have got this earlier and you didn't. And you haven't... Christian, you haven't let me down. You haven't let the listeners down. You've let yourself down, Christian. I'm joking. Labour MP has been mocked online for mistaking one of London's wild green parakeets for a lost pet parrot. Stella Creasy, who represents Walthamstow in East London, ruffled feathers, see what we did there, on social media by sharing a video of a parakeet in a local park, hoping to reunite it with its owner. But it turned out to be a con. Have a look at... Here's Stella Creasy with a chip on... No, a parrot on the shoulder.
So yesterday I was with my kids in my local park, in Lloyd Park in Walthamstow, and there was a green bird that seemed very tame because it allowed us to get very close to it. And it was quite big. Now, yes, I know what parakeets are. We've had parakeets flying around Walthamstow for donkey's years, especially on the Walthamstow marshes. Frankly, I always thought they were a smaller bird and a social bird, so you would always see them in pairs. I thought it might be somebody's parrot, and I thought, I'll do a quick video, see if I can help reunite it with its owner. Nothing more serious than that. I will not lose any sleep over the fact I didn't know the difference between a parrot and a parakeet. It's been a learning opportunity for me. But I will worry about our democracy and our public life if we make it impossible for normal people who don't know everything about everything to be able to be part of it. And that's the real story here.
I do worry about a democracy which says that people who don't know something about something aren't welcome. No, listen, let's be honest. I don't know the difference. I don't probably know the difference between a parakeet and a parrot. The problem is when you put it on social media and pretend to be sort of the Archangel Gabriel, all the naysayers and the trolls who've got nothing better to do than stay at home and feel anxious if I try and get them on camera, they're going to go, idiot, blah, blah. I would only say that's still a cruci. I think it's fine. I wouldn't know. I mean, I just think you should be trying to stop the boats, love, or go into Parliament and vote about dealing with the welfare benefits bill and stop being... See, a lot of that for me is trying to look good. Maybe if you were... Right, here's a question, if I get called cynical. If you were genuinely trying to help that owner, would you just not put a stick... Why would you put it on your social media? Because the cynics will go, oh, you're being worthy. That's why I put nothing. Nothing? That's why I put nothing on stuff like that. By the way, Mark, who's become our sort of scriptwriter here, and he said he thought she was quite chirpy, which I thought was quite good. 0344 419 1000. Julia's here from 10 o'clock. She's chirpy, and she's going to take you through the day's news in her usual brilliant way. I just want to say a very good morning before we finish to today's columnist in The Sun, Ross Clark. Ross, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy.
You are absolutely right. This is brilliant. This is the result of that story yesterday about, you know, PC Andrew Harper's killers could under this government's, you know, early release scheme have got out. And page 10 of The Sun today, PC killers early release storm, the unacceptable deadly price of the Liberal let them all out brigade. It is shocking, this, isn't it, Ross?
It is, yes, absolutely. I mean, you were talking about it a little while ago. Yeah, I mean, how can you come up with a system which, you know, you jail somebody supposedly for 13 years and then they get out in 6.5? I mean, prior to the current Labour government, I mean, prisoners often got out after 2/3 of their sentences, and then the Keir Starmer comes up with this great piece of legislation, Sentencing Act. Oh, we'll let them off after half their sentences.
He's still doing Starmer. Can you do Andy?
I can't do Manchester, nor either Liverpool, isn't he?
Right, listen, buses are £2, right? It's all going to be great, right? On a serious note, Ross, on a serious note, for me, and I said it just now, I don't understand, I genuinely don't get the theory that says you've done something that's a 4-year, 8-year, 12-year, 20-year sentence. I actually, this will probably get off air in a minute when I say this, I don't think you should be let out for good behaviour. You might well, within the confines of your prison sentence, be able to earn treats or time off or whatever. But I think if you are given a sentence that circumvents the system and says, if you do that, you get 5 years, you do 5 years. And when they say to me, well, you know, he behaved himself. Well, he should bloody behave himself, but he didn't when he was breaking the law. I wouldn't use that as an incentive. I think we need to imprison people and stick to that timescale. I've thought it for a long, long time, my friend.
Yeah, and if you misbehave, you should get an extra sentence.
Yeah.
Why not do it that way round? But, yeah, I'm all for the rehabilitation of offenders where it is possible, and it's not always possible, but you should try to rehabilitate offenders. But, I mean, part of that rehabilitation process should be to, you know, the prisoner understands the pain they've caused, the trouble they've caused, and so on. And if they do that, they won't want to be let out early, will they? They want to serve their whole...
But also, the point that you make so brilliantly is, by saying, oh, we know you've done that crime, but we're going to let you out if you behave, I would rather, sorry, they sat in their cell thinking, I've got another 700 days to go. I now understand that what I did was an absolute con. All I hear is people say to me, yeah, but if you leave them in prison, they'll get involved with drugs and they won't learn this and they won't learn that. I'd make it hard. Listen to this. This is John from Portsmouth. I know 6 people that have been to prison, Jez. 5 said life was very easy and they wouldn't worry about doing it again. That is no punishment. That is ludicrous, right? To me, sorry, old-fashioned, and you might disagree. It shouldn't be bloody televisions and table tennis and rights. It should be not horrible, but it should be hard, and it should actually send a message.
Yes, and I would go further and say that part of the problem, you know, people often argue, well, prison is a machine for making bad people even worse. I mean, part of the problem is you do lock up criminals with other criminals. They make associations, and you know, when they're all out, you know, they've got some new mates to go and burgle houses with and so on. I think there's not just a problem letting people out of prison too early, but there's the way we run prisons. They come in far too much contact with other prisoners and perhaps too little contact with their families and friends on the outside of prison. I would turn prisons around, instead of, you know, putting them inward looking and they all get to mix with new criminal mates, that we turn them outwards and they have more contact with you know, honest people outside prison, the sort of people who can help to rehabilitate them, and less contact with the sort of thugs who are doing time with them.
I just want to play a voice note if I can, because this is an interesting point about prisons. This is Sean. Have a listen.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby. I listened to the poor wife of that policeman who was dragged to his death by them men in that car, and I can only imagine what she's going through. In my opinion, none of these people should ever get released. If we can't hang them, then they should get a whole life tariff with a mallet and a pile of rocks to smash up, and everything that the public loathes, whether it's murder, raping, nonsense. You know, the government just don't seem to take it seriously. None of it. If this was America and they killed that copper, the boy would get the chair. And what are we looking at doing? We was going to release them. I mean, we're just not a serious country, Jeremy, anymore. We're really not, mate. Great show, mate.
Ross, I'm not going to get into a debate with 3 minutes of the show to do about capital punishment, but put that analogy there, and I think it's a relevant one. Those kids would have had the chair for killing that copper. We're going to let them out after 6 years. If it wasn't actually for the brave intervention of Lissy Harper, who I think will probably get, quite rightly, Burnham to in some way change his mind. Doesn't say an awful lot about us as a serious society to do with crime, does it?
No. Well, I mean, one of the details of this case which we do have to remember, of course, is that these killers, they were convicted of manslaughter rather than murder, and that's one of the reasons their sentence seems to be rather on the light side. Now, I didn't sit in on that case. I don't know exactly all the details of what happened on that night, but
I don't want to, but I would respectfully suggest I would respectfully suggest, without upsetting anybody, that they would have been fully aware that this poor man was being pulled behind them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the point I'm making is that problem here is not necessarily just with the sentencing. It's possibly with the, why they were convicted of manslaughter rather than murder in the first case. And that there are, other cases like that. Valdo Calacane, the paranoid schizophrenic who killed the two students and the school caretaker in Nottingham. Again, he was convicted of manslaughter rather than murder, rather.
Don't start me. You see, you've wound me up now. Do you know about him? Calacane was allowed out of psychiatric care because a nurse thought it would be racist to keep him inside. And you ready for this, Ross? As you beaver away and earn like the rest of us, he's on about £1,000 a month in benefits in a high-security hospital from which he'll never be moved. I just can't have that. I know Barnaby Webber's mother. That's beyond me.
But the one promising development this week, of course, is that police, it's actually Northumbrian police for some reason, are investigating the Nottinghamshire NHS Foundation for the decision they made to release him with a view to possible corporate manslaughter charges. Now, that should wake up everyone in the NHS, everybody in probation service, everybody in the public sector who makes decisions over whether to release people from jail, whether to release them from secure hospitals and so on. They now know that if they make the wrong decision, they let somebody out on the street and they go on to kill somebody, they will also be under investigation for, aiding and abetting the crime, and that's absolutely as it should be.
Ross, always great to have you on, my friend. Great column in The Sun today about this early release fiasco. We thank you so much indeed, Ross. It's page 10, just so you're aware. Ross Clark, thank you very much indeed. Andy, when do we get an early release from this bloody government? And Vincent has some breaking news, although I think it's just an opinion. He says, I reckon that parrot that Stella Creasy was seen searching for flew off the shoulder of a Somali migrant steering a boat of... a Somali pirate steering a boat of illegal migrants across the channel. Vincent's obviously got a storytelling background. Hello to Mark in Staffordshire. All the parrots have been locked up for misgendering. Apparently, Who's a Pretty Boy is not PC anymore. Who's a pretty person? Don't be so disrespectful. The thing is with the little sweets being offered by Burnham is that most people, and I mean people who don't really listen to any radio like talk and others, will view these things as positive. Absolutely, they won't understand or even be bothered about the level of nuance. My prediction is Burnham gains popularity in the polls, and it comes at a time when I would suggest reform have peaked. Simon in Durham, Patrick's in Kent. How many shops are disappointed today by not being involved in that 20% reduction that Andy Burnham announced in business rates for pubs, clubs and live music venues at 6:15 this morning? If you want a good no, we don't. Jez, how many more pubs will have gone bust by next April before the tax cuts comes in, says Richard, which I think is right. No, we've done that. It feels like we're in December. How long can Andy's uncosted advent calendar keep going, says Mark on the M4. That is extraordinary. So, Julia Hartley-Brewer here from 10, if you want to get your call into her, 0344 499 1000. She will, of course, take your text, 87222. 1 o'clock, Ian Collins recovered from his illness, and Kev O'Sullivan with Drive from 4 o'clock on the Home of Common Sense. We're back in 2.
get to the calls now. And Kevin is in Basingstoke. Morning, Kevin. Kevin, what do you think of this cycling conversation?
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to...
Disagree with me.
Yeah. I mean, there's far more accidents caused by cars than bikes.
Yeah, we're not talking about cars, Kevin. We're talking about bikes.
I know we're talking about bikes, but if we encourage more bikes, then there'll be less accidents. More people...
yeah, more people on bikes who are not being controlled by anything.
On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, and she is the First Lady of Talk, decked out in orange today.
Morning.
Has broken. I got hope in my heart because of Burnham. What do you make of the 20% cut business rates for pubs, clubs, and live
anything's
music?
better than nothing, isn't it? 1,100 quid off, but didn't their costs go up by about 130% in April? It's never enough. Also, why pubs but not cafes, restaurants and hotels? You want to help hospitality. And again, is it funded? No, it's not. Third announcement in a row. They haven't